Okay, we are going live.
We're going live. We'll do it live. Heck it.
All right, so I'm logged in. I still see a TMRO room and a TARS room. I do not see a Twitch room, like you're saying.
Well, I don't think you need the Twitch room.
No, I know, but Mike is saying he's in beta client and still seeing Twitch channel. That's
Mike, can you confirm your beta client? It's you have betaclient.html at the end of your chat.
Yeah, Suncomb 4433/beta
Are we on?
client.
Yeah. Yeah. Not all of those things. But thank you.
All right, looks like Twitch is live.
Yeah, so I don't think we don't need to log in. We still have control, right? So, logging in is irrelevant to the show. So let's just move forward as is, right?
I really like your shirt, Ben.
Thank you.
That's really cool.
Too. Hello, Internet. You like your new light? That's just for you. It's to make you
It's for me?
It's to make you pretty.
It's for me?
Yeah.
I'm so beautiful.
See how beautiful you are?
Okay, no one can see us but us. You know that, right?
No, everyone. Well, I posted it
Yeah.
in Escape Velocity.
Yeah, the live channel is showing that
so
picture we have up.
I'm so pretty. Look at me. Da-da, 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 da-da.
I don't know what's going on anymore. Are we doing this show or not?
Gotta needs to finish this rundown.
Okay. That's fine.
The internet says hi, by the way.
Hello, Internet.
No, they can.
The Internet says, oh my God, lasers.
Like some lasers and stuff.
Lasers.
There you go. Now you can say hi to the internet.
I call it the Alan Parsons Project.
Hello, internet. Okay, rundown, bro. You ready? You're recording.
I guess we're going to get started.
Ben, are you on? What mic are you on?
He doesn't have a mic. He will have my
You're
mic.
gonna take Carrie Ann's, and he's on Ben.
Sorry.
I hate you.
Fries.
Was it good?
Yeah.
What's your favorite meal of all time?
You know, I just have a weakness for chow mein.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know why. Chow mein I love it.
From a particular place or just any?
From this place near my home called China Walk, where every time you walk in, like, it's been the same price for at least like 10, 15 years. And every time they just go.
Great. Now I can't log out. Okay.
I'm going to cough.
All right. Good luck with that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Everybody ready?
Think so.
Okay.
Everyone feel good?
No,
Everyone
Ben.
ready?
Yep.
Yeah,
Ben's
except for
holding.
Ben.
Head is go.
I don't know why Ben is holding. Are we good?
Good morning. How's everything up in the sky?
Welcome to Orbit 10, episode 22. I almost said dot 22. I guess because that's the way it's in the rundown, and so then it's just inherently, I'm Ron Burgundy, apparently, today.
Exactly.
For June 17th, 2017. With me, I have a Jared, I have a Mike, and for some reason, I actually still have a Dutta. There's a cat in the room and a micro Dutta that refuses to join us out in real world. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's a Ben back there somewhere.
Everybody's
A
here.
fantastic guest lined up for you guys today. But of course, as always, I want to make sure we give a huge shout out to our Patreon members. These people of the escape velocity variety. These people have given us $10 or more for this particular segment of this particular episode and continue to be super awesome, which is so great. If you would also like to continue to be super awesome, feel free to head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. Whew. Okay.
Wowza.
We have so much going on. I know, as always. But, of course, we want to start off with launches. So, Mike, take us away.
So yeah, first launch of this past week was a Progress launch, launching on a Soyuz 2-1A rocket. Let's check out the footage. This was the Progress MS-06 spacecraft, which launched on Wednesday, June 14th at 9:20 Coordinated Universal Time from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. And it had on board about 2,739 kilograms, or over 6,000 pounds of cargo and supplies. Now, that included about 880 kilograms, or almost 2,000 pounds of fuel to refuel the station's propulsion system, and about 420 kilograms of drinkable water, as well as a little over 47 kilograms of air to replenish the station's atmosphere. And with this launch, they were able to have a successful launch, and Progress was able to, 2 days later, rendezvous with the International Space Station and dock with it. That occurred on Friday, June 16th at 11:37 Coordinated Universal Time. And originally, the Progress MS-06 spacecraft was originally scheduled to dock with the Pirs module and undock both itself and the Pirs module at the end of its mission to make room for the troubled Nauka module, which has tentatively been scheduled for launch in late 2018, despite ongoing repairs. Now, both Pirs and Progress would re-enter the atmosphere. The Pirs module, by the way, is the module kind of in the left corner there that you can see another Progress vehicle docked to, the kind of bottom left corner of your screen. And that would have both that and the Progress vehicle would have burned up in the atmosphere. But due to delays with the Nauka, this is now planned for the Progress MS-09 mission, also in late 2018. Now, one very sad thing about this launch, though, was that during the launch itself, downrange, one of the recovery personnel lost their lives trying to recover one of the Soyuz boosters when a large gust of wind ignited nearby their truck that they were the driver of, and they apparently were trying to extinguish the fire from that. And although very unfortunate, it just goes to show that all aspects of spaceflight are dangerous, even the ground operations. So thankfully, though, this mission was successful, and the Soyuz, with the upgraded Soyuz with Progress, was able to have a successful mission so far.
Good. Good. And there was another launch, yeah? There was a Long March?
Yes, there was. This has been a long-awaited launch of a X-ray telescope that China has been preparing for several years now. So there's not a whole lot of footage of this, and I apologize for the speaking that's over this, but this is the only footage that we were able to find of this. So let's check it out. This launched on Thursday, June 15th at 300 Coordinated Universal Time from Launch Complex 43 at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. And the spacecraft is called the Hard X-ray Modulation Telescope, or HXMT. And compared with previous orbital X-ray telescopes, HXMT has a larger detection area, broader energy range, and a wider field of view that give it advantages while it's observing the evolution of black holes and powerful magnetic fields of neutron stars. And along with this mission, there was also 2 small satellites that were both a little under 50 kilograms that were also launched with this mission. So congratulations to China for finally getting this mission launched into space. It was originally scheduled to launch way back in 2010, but has had quite a few delays. So it's awesome to finally see that get off. And I'm sure Jared's going to be very excited if they even share the results of this mission, which I'm pretty sure they will.
They are going to.
What sort of results they'll yield. Yeah, because it's the Chinese Academy of Sciences that's responsible for this, and they are usually very open about their the results that they get from scientific missions like this.
Yeah, this is also a new instrument as well to look at X-rays. Most of the time you have extremely flat mirrors with sensors that do that, but this one is not. It's actually sensors at angles. So we're all actually very excited to see what kind of data we get from this mission. So very, very cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of data and missions and other things, this is literally in the rundown as wow signal.
Yes.
So you're going to have to explain some things to me.
Who likes controversy? not me particularly. But there is a new study that just came out about the signal that was detected by SETI, which is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, back in 1977. Now, it's called the WOW signal, and that's because when you look at the printout that it was on, somebody circled where the signal happened and wrote WOW next to it. So those numbers and letters tell you the signal to noise ratio. So the higher the number or the further down the alphabet you go, the better the signal to noise ratio is.
So if it was like 99ZZ, 99ZZ,
yeah, that would be like
crazy
whoa,
pants. Okay.
Like okay, here they come,
Got it.
kind of thing.
All right, just checking.
3 coming in from Mark 4.6. I don't know. So this signal was pretty interesting because it happened at 1420 megahertz, which this is the same frequency that neutral hydrogen emits in the radio spectrum. And this is considered a sweet spot because intelligent life will be studying hydrogen. So scientists in the 70s proposed that if there was other intelligent life out there, it would know that other intelligent life would be looking at the hydrogen line right there.
Sure.
And it would emit whatever signals it could to try to communicate in that line. So that's not really the line of thinking anymore today, but that's how it was back in the 1970s.
Right.
Well, Antonio Paris, an astronomer at St. Petersburg College in Florida, has actually published a paper claiming that those radio emissions likely came from comets. And it's very interesting because not only are the UFO people not buying it, obviously, because clearly it was aliens, the scientists are also...
aliens, but it's probably...
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was aliens, but, so... Even the scientists aren't buying this scientific paper as well. My favorite quote came from Queen's University in Belfast. They have an astrophysics division there that studies comets specifically, and their reply to the paper was rubbish. Because nobody's ever detected 1420 megahertz actually being emitted from a comet before. And Seth Shostak, the senior astronomer at SETI, also agrees that no one's detected anything from a comet being emitted at that radio frequency as well. Another problem with the paper is that the comets claimed to cause the emissions, 266P Christensen, actually wasn't anywhere near close to the part of the sky where the WOW signal came from. And it's been very interesting watching the author of the paper and several other scientists going at it over Twitter and Reddit, #ScienceBeef. So the mystery remains as to what the WOW signal was, because a lot of people, including myself, really aren't buying that paper that came out that said that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
And wasn't that coming from the constellation of Pegasus? Is that where the WOW signal was detected from?
Yeah, right in that area. So, yeah, very interesting part of the sky. So,
All right.
Very cool.
All right. At least I understood that one, so that makes me happy.
There you go.
Mike, you got some DARPA news. What's going on over there?
Yeah, so this is something that I've wanted to talk about for a while, and there's been a couple of new developments over the past week regarding this. DARPA has selected the partner that they're going to move forward with on their XS-1, their experimental spaceplane program, and they've chosen Boeing to be their partner. And Boeing's put out a little animation of their their proposal for this, and they're calling their version the Phantom Express, and it's going to be a 2-stage vehicle. The first stage isn't necessarily a space plane; it's more like a rocket plane that is going to get high enough to be able to deploy the upper stage to have something that can go into orbit all the way. And this would be for small to medium class rockets. Now, Phantom Express is going to be used in the second and third phases of this experimental program. Phase 2 is an $146 million award that's going to cover all the ground tests and hopefully have 10 flights in 10 days by the end of 2020. So Boeing is going to be the partner for that, and Boeing supposedly is going to be responsible for that upper stage as well. However, there are possibilities that other people who were competing in the program might still be able to be a part of this program, such as the Maston Aerospace team that was working with X-Corps, as well as the Northrop Grumman team that was working with Virgin Galactic. So there might still be a little bit of possibilities for this. But if it works, this could potentially lower the price quite a bit. And I'm sure, or rather I would hope, that Boeing would be able to market this commercially themselves to have another, their reusable rocket, so to speak.
Yeah.
But something else that I did want to mention is that Aerojet Rocketdyne is going to be the contractor for the engine. They're going to be using the Space Shuttle main engines, or the RS-25s, only one of them as the main propulsion on that first stage for that rocket plane. And recently, DARPA spokespeople have confirmed that the XS-1 is going to be based out of Cape Canaveral. If you could go to the fourth picture, please. They are going to be launching, they haven't said exactly which pad they're going to be launching out of, but they're probably going to be operating out of the same facilities where they operate the X-37B. And they're definitely going, they did announce that they are definitely going to be using the Kennedy Space Shuttle landing facility, as well as the skid strip that's at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station to do test landings and possibly operational landings of the Phantom Express. Now, speaking of the X-37B program, the Air Force did recently announce that the next flight, the next mission, the next launch of an X-37B is going to be on SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket and not United Launch Alliance's Atlas V.
It's an interesting, web of things. I don't even know how to, all right, cool.
Yeah, and even Tori Bruno, the CEO of United Launch Alliance, said that they didn't even have a chance to bid on that. So supposedly that mission is supposed to launch within the next 6 months. So I'm going to be very interested to see if they're going to be ready in time. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting turn of events here. But yeah, Boeing also builds the X-37B. So yeah, I think it's interesting that they are focusing on this rocket plane stuff and not really worrying about too much about the reusability thing. So in any case, I'm sad for Maston, but I hope that there's more opportunities for Maston Aerospace as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's really cool. I mean, we all do. Close personal friend of the show, Maston.
Dreamy Dave.
Right, Dreamy Dave. As opposed, also, close personal friend of the show, Tori Bruno. So there's that too.
Yeah.
I'm just going to throw that out there. I figure I might as well.
Yeah. We're all friends.
Right, exactly. Yeah. All ships rise to the tide.
Exactly.
So I think we all agree at that point. All right, so Jared, you're killing me on your headlines here, man.
Trust me. I'm killing myself talking about this, but I'm going to give it a shot.
This is China tests spooky action at a distance in space.
Yes, it sounds like a really funny thing, but
it's like the weirdest balderdash grouping of words together that are all English, and yet I have no idea what they mean.
Spooky action at a distance is probably my favorite actual scientific term ever. I mean, it just sounds spooky action at a distance. Oh my gosh.
As opposed to really close in your face?
Yeah, as opposed to spooky action at a couch. I don't know.
Sure.
That just brings up
regular life.
Yeah, let's not.
Right.
We're stopping.
I'm sorry.
Anyways,
my bad.
So a team of scientists in China have actually used a satellite to test what's called quantum entanglement. And they've done it over the longest distance anyone has ever done it, about 1,200 kilometers.
Okay.
So quantum entanglement is also known as spooky action at a distance, and that term was actually created by Albert Einstein because he did not feel that quantum theory was very solid. So, how we'll sometimes be like, that's a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
Right.
So Einstein was like, that's just a bunch of spooky action at the distance.
Okay.
So, basically, what happens is that you have an entangled pair of particles, and they can actually change instantly when measured, even if those pair of particles are thousands of light years away. That's basically what the theory says.
All right.
And the wildest thing is that in practice, if you actually go to the laboratory, it happens. It's weird. It's really...
Is that like twins, like when one gets sick in Wisconsin and the other one feels it, but he's in Iowa?
Yes.
Like that?
It's exactly like that.
All right.
In fact, I think that's how it happens. So, the best part about this is that no one understands the mechanics as to why it works. It just simply does. So basically this satellite, which is in these images right here, that is, Space Mike wanted me to point out, that is not the quantum wave coming from the satellite. You can't actually see it. That is a laser.
Yeah, because I was like, that is straight spooky.
used.
So yeah, I agree
Yeah,
with that.
so,
all right, lasers, got it.
It's a laser that they're firing with the entangled pair of particles in there. Now, China's been working on this satellite since the 1990s, and what's so cool about this experiment is that the applications are almost endless. Just like when we discovered photons, people were like, what's the point? Well, now photons are kind of important for everything that you use. So you could do things like truly unbreakable communication encryptions, extremely precise navigation systems, and potentially exponential speed gains for computers. So there's a multitude of applications that something like this can be used, and it's so cool to see that not only are we in the early stages of this, but we're using space in order to get ourselves into the early stages of this. So there you go. There's some spooky action at a distance. So
All right. I think we need that on a t-shirt.
yeah. All right, that's enough quantum for one
All right,
day.
you're good?
Yes,
Yeah, that was
I'm fine.
a lot. That was
Yeah.
really heavy. This one doesn't seem any lighter. Mike, we're talking about asteroid redirect winding down and deep space gateway gain support.
Oh my gosh.
We're all gonna die. What is happening?
And I have to talk about both of these things because they're connected.
Yeah, no, for
so-
sure. Don't get me wrong.
So NASA Asteroid Redirect, or NASA ARM, is the mission that was supposed to go to a near-Earth asteroid and extract a boulder and bring that back either into lunar orbit or into a closer Earth orbit. And with these, the NASA Asteroid Redirect mission has received a notice of defunding from from NASA leadership in April, weeks after a budget proposal for the fiscal year 2018 was released by the White House that called for the cancellation of the mission. Now, NASA has emphasized, even though they're in the final phases of winding down this program, that key technologies are being developed for ARM will continue. The best known of these is the solar electric propulsion that's going to be used in the early 2020s as the power propulsion module for the Deep Space Gateway. That's the outpost that NASA has proposed to put into cislunar space. Now, other elements of NASA ARM are going to be preserved, such as increased funding for near-Earth asteroid searches and planetary defense techniques. And I'm sure that means probably looking up studies at different ways that we could potentially deflect these potentially dangerous near-Earth asteroids. Meanwhile, though, NASA's Aerospace Safety Advisory Panel has endorsed the plan to build and use the Deep Space Gateway and has praised the practice of, or rather, the idea of using lots of different practice missions at this Deep Space Gateway in order to get ready for crewed interplanetary journeys to Mars. They went even so far as to say that the panel acknowledges a lot of progress that has been made and believes NASA is on the right track, and that while the timelines on some of these missions may seem lengthy, when one considers all of the technical challenges that need to be addressed and the constraints on resources, NASA appears to have a very credible plan going forward. And I really like this plan. Not only does it enable doing these practice missions, I mean, they're going to do another 1-year mission and even a 2-year mission to see if, make sure that crews don't get cabin fever on the enclosed journey to Mars in the first place. Even if we have a larger habitat, even if you have something really big, you could still lose your mind, on a 2-year journey like that. 1 year there and 1 year back, plus whatever amount of time you're going to actually stay in orbit around Mars. So not only that, but we need to make sure that we actually can do this safely and test out the protections, or the rather different methods to protect crews from the harsh radiation of interplanetary space. So we definitely need to work out these challenges, and this is a great place to do it. And it's kind of almost like the best of both worlds to me, because it's almost satisfying the moon first crowd. Even though we're not going to the surface, the space station will enable our international partners to go to the surface of the moon. We totally want to work with our international partners, like Russia and potentially even China, even though they're not our partners and we're banned from working with them, to enable their human program to go to the surface of the moon. And if we do cooperate with them, how nice would it be to be able to hitch a ride on one of those lunar landing missions?
Yeah.
But that's just wishful thinking on my part. But this helps all of those, including commercial missions too, which I haven't even got into. So I like it, and so does the NASA Safety Advisory Panel. So I think that this is definitely going to be moving forward, and hopefully won't get canceled in the next administration.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Hopefully.
Sorry.
All those things.
Lots of stuff.
All right. And Jared, you got some pretty pictures.
Yeah, I've got some really pretty pictures.
So we haven't checked in on Hubble in a while.
Yeah, we haven't. And Hubble's, still working, still doing amazing work.
We didn't shut that down?
No, we didn't.
Oh, okay.
So,
when NASA shut down, we didn't shut down Hubble?
No. It's still working. Anyways, some European astronomers used Hubble for a very precise type of measurement called astrometry. Astrometry astronomy, so say that like 20 times fast. And they looked at two brown dwarfs that are in a system called Lumen 16AB, which is actually the third closest system to our sun, only about 6 light years away from us. What they did is they took 12 images over a 3-year period that actually allows us to see their proper motion. So most of the time in astronomy, when we look at things, they don't appear to be moving even though they actually are. So if you take these images over very long periods of time, you can actually get motion out of them like this. That's what they're doing in the sky. As they orbit each other, they kind of swing around like that. So that's 3 years of data put into an animation, and they were using Hubble to verify if data from the European Southern Observatory's very large telescope indicated that there was actually an exoplanet around those stars. But Hubble, being very precise, was able to prove that there currently is not a currently detectable exoplanet in that system. And out of it, we got to see the proper motion of a system, which we don't get to see this very often, so this was a very exciting paper that came through. So
Yeah.
very, very cool result that they got from that.
It is.
So, yeah.
Oh, I love pretty pictures.
Look at them, they're dancing.
They are
They're
dancing.
dancing all together. They're so pretty.
Oh my goodness. All right, I think we do have time for one more. So, Mike, this is so great. I love that you opened up the show with some launches, and then we're ending the news segment with some almost launches. Well, right? I mean,
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, well, you don't know. I know because I'm
Getting ready
looking at
for
the
launches,
rundown.
Yeah.
So, tell me more about what Orbital ATK is doing.
So yeah, this is a disclaimer. This may upset some folks, but Orbital ATK has once again tested the abort motor that's going to be used on the launch abort system for the Orion capsule. This test was already completed quite a while ago, back in the Constellation program, but yet here it is again. So there's a little bit of footage of not only the abort motor, but also the attitude control motor and the jettison motor. Let's check it out. So yeah, this test was done on Thursday, June 15th of this week, but the attitude control motor for the launch abort system, they recently did a second test of that back on April 27th, and that's this test right here. Now, you also may remember that the jettison motor that pulls away the abort motor and these attitude controls, that was also tested last year by Aerojet Rocketdyne. And that happened on August 31st of 2016. And as I said, all of these tests have already been completed before, but here's the part where this makes sense to me. All of the contractors that built these 3 different systems to make the launch abort system have either merged or evolved. ATK was the original, there's the test for the jettison motor.
Nice.
ATK was originally just doing the abort motor, and then they merged with Orbital Sciences. And Orbital Sciences was the one who was doing just the attitude control motor. So now Orbital ATK is doing both the abort motor and the attitude control motor. And then Aerojet, even though they still have the contract for that, they merged with Aerojet Rocketdyne. So there's a lot of different shuffling of that right there too. So real quickly, I wanted to show these old tests and also a full pad abort test that they've already done with a full up launch abort system and the Orion capsule. So here's the old ones that were done back in 2008 and 2010. So they've already tested all of these systems before, and it turns out that even though they completed a full-up pad abort test, which you can see launching there, on May 10th of 2010, using a boilerplate Orion that had parachutes and everything, Constellation, which was what this was supposed to be for, was canceled in February of 2010. So even though it's the same hardware for a slightly different Orion, technically they do have different contractors, even though it's the same contractors, and it's for a different human spaceflight program. So that, in my mind, even though it might seem like a waste of money, does justify a second full-up pad abort test to occur late in 2018. It's actually supposed to occur after Exploration Mission 1. Unless Exploration Mission 1 gets pushed back even farther. And despite this, this is why programs need to have safeguards and insurance policies in place for when administrations change, because the launch abort system, the contract for it was technically canceled. And so they had to redraw up all of the contracts to build the launch abort system again, even though it's technically the same companies. They're different now that they're merged. So this test, even though they've already done it before and proved that it works, is justified. They still need to make sure that they can make sure it works and make sure that the people involved, are skilled enough to do it. So.
I mean, I feel like that's a totally legit thing. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I can appreciate that. It must. They probably think it sucks because they're like, we already did this, but I think it's great.
That was my attitude when I first heard of this. I was like, we've already done this stuff. And like in the articles and the press releases talking about it, they're like, oh yeah, we're doing the first test of the launch abort motor. I'm like, no, we already did. I remember us doing this test before. This isn't the first one.
Right. That's funny. Well, it's sort of like breaking up with a significant other, and then like 5 years down the road, you get back together, and you're like, okay, but don't be crappy like you were, because otherwise we're going to break up again. Like, you need to prove yourself to me one more time.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but maybe there was enough differences between the multi-purpose crew vehicle in Constellation and Orion post-Constellation that maybe they had to redesign
that is
something.
An excellent point. Like,
weight differences and stuff. They might have had to increase or even decrease the thrust on any three of those systems of the launch abort system. So yeah, there's definitely justifiable reasons for wanting to do this again and make sure that it works. That's the point of this story.
Plus,
I believe.
fire always looks cool, so there's that.
Yeah. Abort motors are awesome. I mean, they're going to leave bruises and maybe crack a rib, but you're going to live at least. So
yeah, I'll take that. No problem.
I will too.
All right. I think that's all we got for news this week, which is really great. We got everything in. I'm really proud of us. Good job, guys.
Good job, everyone.
We did it.
We did.
Gold star.
We didn't skip anything this week, you guys. We gave you all of the news that we had. Oh my goodness. But we are going to take a break so that we can sit down for a bit. And then when we come back, Ben actually has got a great interview with Esteban Guzman talking about space art. So one of my favorite topics. I love pretty pictures. All right, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Look into her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lies. Filled with awesome expectation, this girl's a fascination. Nothing in her way will keep her from her destination. 'Cause she's fire walking, she's fire walking. When it's hard, she keeps on moving. The heat keeps on improving. Yeah, she's fire walking, she's fire walking to be free.
And welcome back to Tomorrow. Now, before we get started with this week's interview, I did want to give a huge shout out to all of the patrons of Tomorrow who've helped to make this specific segment of this episode happen. These are people who've contributed $10 or more to this specific episode. We also have our Orbital patrons. These are people who've contributed $5 or more to this specific episode. To find out how you can help crowdfund the shows of Tomorrow, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. All right, I am joined this week by Esteban Guzman. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it right.
All right. And you work up at the Griffith Observatory.
I do, yeah.
That's easy to say. And you're an illustrator artist up over there.
I'm an illustrator and animator up
Animator,
there.
I'm sorry, illustrator, animator. And what does that mean?
That means we in the studio produce our own planetarium shows. There's only a few places in the entire world that produce their own planetarium shows, and I'm happy to be part of one of the observatories that does create their own. And so we're in the process of making a new show. Fortunately, I can't say too much about it right now, but we are currently in pre-development into making something I hope really reaches people.
So let's talk a little bit about art and STEM.
Okay.
So do you feel that, so there's this kind of STEM and STEAM debate, right? Science, technology, engineering, math, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Do you think that arts are important in that, or is it kind of a separate thing and they don't really collide at all?
No, I think they do. It should play a role in STEM or STEAM, because it's part of this development of just trying to make the world a better place in the way of people. Like when people think of genius and intelligence, they think of innovators like Elon Musk or Albert Einstein, but much as integral as science and math and agriculture is to civilization, art has been there the entire way. It's one of the defining features of a civilization that we're able to create art. Art is everywhere, you know, no matter what kind of person you are, whether you're a physicist, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a mechanic, you like art in some form. You have art on your t-shirt. There's movies, you know, commercials, TV. Art's everywhere. It's part of our civilization, and it's something that should be, you know, invested more into. I think people tend to think when, especially, you know, in, like, a lot of politicians, they think arts and crafts, artsy fartsy, you know, it's something you do as a hobby. You know how many times I've heard that one. But art is what makes humans human. And I think it definitely does need to put the heat and steam.
Is there an engineering advantage to also having good artistic sense or good design sense when you're building? I mean, rockets are round, right? They're round for engineering reasons.
Sure.
Is there any artistic advantage to any of that?
To putting an artistic flair, like on a rocket or something.
Sure. I mean, let's look at, like, again, the views and opinions expressed in the show, blah blah blah. But you know, let's take a Dragon 2,
Sure.
the Crew Dragon vehicle, and an Orion capsule. The Dragon looks like something out of the future.
Yeah.
It's designed beautifully. And then you've got Orion that looks like something out of the past. It's not designed beautifully, but they both do the same thing. Is there any engineering advantage to the thing, or is there any? It doesn't even have to be an engineering advantage.
Right.
Is there any advantage to the thing that is cool looking too?
Well, there's this aspect that when we think of engineering things, like we think of cars and boats and airplanes, things that have to, just based on utility, have to have a streamlined look to them because they need that, allows them to move quicker through the air, makes them more aerodynamic. Rockets don't need that, you know, they just have to work. I would love, you know, rockets to look like the rockets from the 50s, these nice conical slender
like
tubes,
one of these,
like
right?
that one.
Like that.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go,
Tomorrowland,
like one of those,
exactly.
yeah.
It's beautiful looking. Surprisingly, though, at the studio, we are more forgiving when it comes to space travel, especially now because we're still relatively young in, you know, us exploring space. But we're kind of just like, let's just get up there first, you know, like, the old original cars, you know, they just kind of they're just a lever, and they're just these hunks of machinery that just had wheels, and then, you know, they didn't look pretty or anything. People look up, like, you know, they put them on a pedestal because they're the first cars, you know. And, you know, people do that with, like, the Saturn V rocket, which to me, I kind of find a beautiful rocket. You know, like, I do find beauty in just something's ability to do unbelievable things. You know, there's an artistry in that. There's an artistry in, like, just figuring out how to do things like the Grand Tour. I think that's a beautiful piece of art, of just having to figure out how to take the little budget they had, but figuring out just the math of how to get this probe around the planets just so they can get to all of them. You know, I think they're only funded to go to Jupiter or Saturn, right? And they used gravitational assist to get to Neptune and Uranus too. But in terms of just in a broader picture, which I think definitely oftentimes people should think about more, like the big, you know, when people today in the politics of it, they want immediate action, they want an immediate payoff. And there's not big ideas on investment, you know, and you have my drawing up here, which is, you know, it's not a very, it's what, like a space station. So this is a image I made of, you know, just two astronauts going to visit Pluto. I painted this shortly after New Horizons visited dwarf worlds. And
You mean the planet Pluto? The planet. It's clearly a planet, not a dwarf planet, but a full, actual planet.
I don't care what it is, honestly. It's beautiful. It has a heart on it.
It does. It's beautiful. It has, like, geology to it.
Yeah, it's incredible place. Like, yeah, whenever people ask me about Pluto, I say, you know, no one cared about the classification of Pluto until they decided to make it not a planet. And what I usually tell people is, it shouldn't make you sad about Pluto, it should make you curious onto what are the other dwarf planets, because there's 5 other ones that not everyone knows about. I'm sure most people watching the show clearly knows, like you have Ceres, Eris, Haumea, Makimaki, and some other ones that haven't been officially designated, but for all intents and purposes, like Quoar and Set. And just like sometimes I just want to get to the International Astronomical Union, just commit, guys. Just commit and name the dwarf planets for one.
Well, it's funny, actually, I went the other way, which is, okay, now it opened my curiosity as to how do we define a planet? And it's amazing how quickly that becomes a very complicated question.
Yeah.
That is not easy to answer. And then like, oh, well, we should, as soon as you start adding Pluto in, then you start having to add like our moon in
Sure.
and other things.
Yeah.
Like, well, that doesn't feel right either. So yeah, it creates, I think, an interesting conversation.
It's just semantics, honestly. There's an asteroid with a ring around it, that not many people, I forgot its name, but that's something I want to see, It's some moons are more interesting than
I feel
planets.
like we should call it Sasteroid after Saturn. Sasteroid, that'd be fun.
and then every time, because it's very sassy too. But going back to the question of, utilitarian components, right now I'm just kind of like, let's get there. But in terms of investing in art, every scientist or every space engineer usually has their roots, their beginning as a kid who watched science fiction. People watch Star Trek, and that was the first time an engineer who worked on, who's working on Dawn, that's currently around Ceres, it's the first time he ever heard of the concept of the ion drive. It was on Star Trek, and now he uses it to power the Dawn probe. And so when it comes to designing a ship that looks aesthetically beautiful, that's the kind of thing that does capture the imagination of not anyone now, but we would totally see the impact of it, maybe 20 years down the line when that kid, works at SpaceX or works for NASA and he develops a rocket that gets us to Mars.
There's also this giant and immense beauty just in the cosmos itself.
Yes.
Right? We have JunoCam, which is Jared loves to point out at any opportunity he has. Almost didn't make it. It wasn't supposed to be on the vehicle.
Yeah.
And the imagery coming back is just stunning.
It's stunning. And yeah, when we were talking about that, because the space artists out there, we always look for reference, and this is my interpretation of Juno flying by Jupiter. And we were just thinking of it's really hard that it's really upsetting that they don't get the concept of having to put a camera onto a probe. And it makes me upset as a taxpayer too, because hey, you're gonna the science is great, we want the science, put a camera on it. This is what, at the very least, this is what people want. This is the people who you're representing. This is the people who are funding. This is not me, by the way. We'll get into this.
Well, yeah,
let's talk.
so we'll pause that. That's a really good point. But so what are we looking at here?
Okay, so this is an early illustration of what Jupiter looked like, and so this is what I usually when I talk about the history of space art, I kind of think back to where its roots are. I'm trying to think back, and there's kind of it has connections with spiritual and religious art in a way, not directly or anything, but in a way, because a lot of the first art for many civilizations starts off as depicting a deity. Space art to me has always been you showing people what they can't see for themselves, and initially that's what religious art is. This to them, that was their cosmos, that was their world. And thinking back in medieval times, that they were depicting their cosmos, their gods, what they couldn't they took what they knew and they interpreted it into some way that was something visual for people to better connect with. Here's some other illustrations of looking back. But probably the very first space artist would have to be Galileo, who did some illustrations of the moon. He saw the mountains and the valleys. He saw the crescent, Venus. He saw the big dot of Jupiter and the 4 little dots going around it. And what he was trying to do is there's no cameras back then, you know, there's barely lenses for telescopes. And so he illustrated these things to connect further with people. Like, this is what I'm seeing, and this is what these illustrations represent. They are connecting people to the cosmos in a way that they can't. And then, you know, give it a couple hundred years, cameras come along, and all of a sudden you can take pictures of the planets, you know, because not everyone has a telescope. You know, you got to be able to communicate what you're seeing so people can fund and back up what you're trying to show them. And so when the camera came, the question begins then, is there a need, let me ask you this. So once the camera took a picture of the planet and people can have actual pictures of planets, is there a need for a space artist anymore?
That's an interesting question. I would argue yes, because you still want to have art and inspiration in the things that you can't yet see through that camera lens.
Exactly. And that is the role of the space artist. The space artist takes, and what, like, you know, what my driving thing is, you know, when I create my art or I'm working on the planetarium, our idea is we take what we know and we just try to go just a little bit further. You know, we try to just go like, so right here, here's my illustration of Pluto, and it got 2 astronauts. And I always put 2 astronauts because I like the idea of wherever we go, we're not going alone, we're going together. So we got all those beautiful pictures of Pluto, right? Now the space artist is like, all right, let's take you down. The artist always makes it more personal. You know, you like, or at least for me, not everybody, but at least for me, I try to like, what would it be like to actually be there? You know, and there's some great art where like it's more fantastic. Like, you know, someone would put the Milky Way in the background and put a bunch of stars back there. If we go back to the other one really quickly.
Go back.
I'll talk about this one a little bit.
Oh, there you go.
This is like, you know, it's like like how on the moon you might not see, you probably wouldn't see stars from the surface of Pluto, even though it's really dim out there. I wanted to get just that little hint of a blue atmosphere. You got Karen right there, and I think that's Hydra I put in the background. And the idea is just you take what you know and you try to interpret it in a way that makes it feel like what would it actually like to be there. And we probably won't get to Pluto for some time. And so space artists have a job until then. But even then, you know.
That feels like that should be on a shirt. We won't get to Pluto for some time, so space artists have a job for a while. Yeah.
Well, the way I always liked it, and me and my coworkers have come up with this kind of motto when it comes to space art, which is we try, like, you know, we talk to scientists and like what's probably there, what's probably not there, and you know when sometimes like, you know, maybe it's not there, or we're kind of like, all right, you know what, we like it. If you disagree, prove us wrong and fund a mission.
So I do have at least one question from the chat room from
Sure.
Wicked asking, basically, what kind of hardware and software do you use to make these images, and then we'll extend that also. So we'll say some of the images, what do you use for hardware and software, and then you're talking about doing a new planetarium show.
Yeah.
What does it take to build something like that? Because that's got to be way more intense.
Okay, so my illustrations there are, I use a Photoshop and I use a pen, you know, and I draw everything on there. Some people, you know, like to grab textures and like, you know, make that the sand or something, like add to it, like, and that's fine, you know, but I like making sure like everything I do, like especially if it's like, you know, if it's quick, something I need to do quick, you know, like concept art, it's great for concept art, you know, you can grab a reference photo and alter it a little bit and make it something more, but if it's like my personal art, I want to make sure that every stroke of the pen is me. And what was the second part? Oh,
So you basically Photoshop, and, Illustrator, I assume.
Illustrator, not really Illustrator, just kind of, I try to keep it, because I at heart want to be a traditional illustrator. You know, I want to use colored pencils, I want to use pens, I want to use paint, but unfortunately that's not where the medium is going right now. Everything is digital, and to keep up, you know, you got to learn how to do that. But my medium halfway is I'm doing that, but I draw in a way that is applicable to how I would draw a painting. My mentors at the observatory, Chris Butler and Don Dixon, I consider them, I'm their Padawan. They are great. Some unbelievable, like, I wish I upload, but this is something people could look up. Don Dixon, back in 1979, he illustrated for a book cover an image of Pluto, right? He's a smart guy. He actually like thinks like, all right, well, at this temperature, this element would come up to the air and fall back down and kind of create these textures, and this is probably what would be like, you know, just tholins in there, so it'd be a little bit tinted red. And he just made this book cover, and then, kid you not, 30 years later, however long time it was between 1979 and when New Horizons passed by, there's an image that is spookily looks just like his painting. And so sometimes space artists get it right. And actually, Phil Plait, I think, mentioned like, why do we even send a mission? Let's just have this guy paint what we that was just there. And believe it or not, he actually, it's not as big, but he has a small heart on Pluto that's just created by asteroid impacts. But the way like
That's got to be pure happenstance, right?
it's pure happenstance. Yeah, okay. No, he had no idea, or he's part of a conspiracy. If I can kind of how to say that. No, but those guys are great, and like, you know, you go in, and you know, I was in my own bubble, like, you know, like, for like, you know, in college, like, you know, I started art, like, but I focused on space art, and like, you know, didn't meet too many space artists. You know, I found like my little niche, but once you meet other people who are embedded in it and are great at it, it's just like, it's a whole nother level, you know? It's just like, these guys are wicked smart, and there's like no way I could ever, like, I maybe one day will, but you know, these guys are the people I look up to. The name is...
Someday you can become a Master Jedi.
Hopefully I will do too. But back to the hardware. So the hardware for the planetarium show is we're...
Because I mean, it's a bit more intense, right?
It is intense.
You've got this huge theater, and you've got, I'm assuming, insane resolution on that. And if you're rendering things out, you know, you're not just making an image. You have to make however many of those you're doing per second, 24 to 60, I assume.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a lot of like we're just starting to learn like new softwares right now, and it's a high learning curve, and like you just want to smash your head in sometimes because you are trying to figure out like what is wrong. I'm doing everything you told me, and yet you're not working, and you just kind of have to, you know, just retrace your steps and like try to figure out what you did wrong. But one of the things that, you know, we try to, and credit to everyone, just the people who developed the show, they really wanted space artists first, you know, like, you know, we'll get animators and they're great. You know, we've had some animators come in and they're great, but they really wanted like the aesthetic that we brought to the show.
Well, kind of like you were talking about, take the science of how the chemicals react and actually understand what we really think this might actually look like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more than just art. That's science and art blended together.
Yeah, and getting back to just in general of like space and just scientific art, there's some bad stuff out there. You know, some of it is more like, and it's kind of disappointing because this is the thing that's going to capture people the most. There's a lot of great stuff out there, but there's some, like I find a lot of the official NASA stuff is just more like utilitarian of like, all right, here's a planet, here's a star, you know, there's no real like...
Some of their stuff.
Some of
their like Juno stuff, I want to say, like their Juno animation. Was it Juno? I think it was Juno. Or certainly MSL.
Yeah, there's some great stuff out there. Like they did this Cassini one. I think it was JPL or something. They did the Cassini flyby. That's beautiful.
I think most of the stuff that comes out of JPL is pretty fantastic.
It's pretty fantastic. Yeah. There's a short movie called Wanderers.
Oh, yes, but that wasn't JPL.
No, that wasn't, no.
That's incredible. I love that so much, we contacted that animator to help us with our open.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was inspiring. Like, us at the show were just like, wow, all right.
For anyone watching, if you've not seen the short Wanderers, Just search, I think, Google or Vimeo for Wanderer's Cosmos, and it truly is.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's a second one. I think it's about New Horizons, but before they get to Pluto, they show all the different satellites that go by. It's the first mission to each world, and yeah, that stuff is like when I see something like that, I'm initially like, wow, man, challenge accepted.
Got another question from the chat room, which is from Jack, asking, what would you say is your signature?
In terms of what? Like,
That's the entire question. But you know how most artists sign their work? I assume you're not going to be able to sign your planetarium work per se,
No.
other than maybe your name possibly at the end. So do you have like a thing like, for example, we have an artist in our front whatever of our house who always puts rocks. Like he's trying to get the rocks out of his head. Always puts rocks into his photos. Do you have anything like that where you mentioned like you always have two.
It's
you
always
try to have
two
two
astronauts,
astronauts.
yeah.
Like, can we expect the same thing in the planetarium show? When you see people, there always be two of them.
I can't speak to that kind of thing in specifics.
All right, but how about just a signature, like something?
This is something my dad has always wanted. Like everything I do, he wants me to sneak in my signature. And I'll speak generally. I won't speak any specifics. Like, let's say, and this is not the example, so please don't.
We're not allowed to know the. All right.
So this is not the example. But like, let's say let's say there's grass or something, right? I would and let's say someone was mowing the lawn. The part they mowed would be my signature, something like that. Just sneak it in there where. Only if you knew where to look, you would see it, because my signature is it's 3 lines and a G going through the bottom third line, and so it's pretty easy to hide. But
So now, anyway, not saying you're going to put it in the planetarium show, but you should. I'm definitely going to watch for it. I'll have to go a couple times to see if I can find it.
I'm not saying.
I'm not saying you are, but I'm also not saying you're not.
No, at the beginning, I did it a lot, but young artist. But then since then, that stuff that was just practice stuff, and since then I haven't put it in. Actually haven't put in anything since, but because it's just to me, it's just like the focus is on the work. It's not about me. So, I'm not as, interested in making sure people know it's me. People know me,
I have another question from Sarge Enzyme. I think we're going to have to take some liberties with this particular one because I'm not entirely sure how to word it. But life usually follows art or is inspired by art. For example, Star Wars, Star Trek. What do you see as inspiring the new and current scientists? Okay, actually, I think that was self-explanatory. So what's inspiring?
See, this is a problem I've had. I'm a huge science fiction fan, My wallet is Star Trek, and...
Well, it's only science fiction till it isn't anymore.
Until it isn't anymore, exactly. I have a lot of problems with sci-fi today. When you look at sci-fi in the 60s, it was forward thinking. It was, let's do the crazy stuff that's coming out there. Like, you think of Star Trek, you think of, they had a cell phone, they had a teleporter, they had all these great things. And there's some great sci-fi today in terms of plot, but not in terms of forward thinking. Like Battlestar Galactica. I love Battlestar Galactica. Great plot, but there wasn't anything new about it. Spaceship, that's standard. There's nothing, particularly interesting. Spaceships are always interesting, but there's nothing innovative about a spaceship. I'm waiting for someone to come up with the next, crazy invention that, is nuts. There's a new show called The Expanse that I'm currently in love with right now. Great plot, but again, not technology that isn't within the next 30 years that we won't have. They have rail guns and things like that. And so now here's where I begin.
Rail guns? That's technology from today, isn't it?
Okay, yeah. Or I'm just thinking of in their sense, they're on everything, and so this is where any beginning conversation with me ends up me talking about my comic book, because I'm not a published science fiction writer, but I've created 2 sci-fi comics that I didn't think were ready, and I'm trying to work on a third one right now. Like, work is totally just eating up all my time, and I have all these other art projects that I have to get to before I get to my comic. But, I'm trying to go back into that sense of like, let's show people a future world that would be as alien and unusual, like if you brought Thomas Jefferson to the future today and what he would think about it,
I've always wondered what that would happen is if you were to take someone from like even 100 years ago and bring them to modern day civilization.
But in terms of sci-fi and what's in, like, there's always going to be shows. There's always going to be sci-fi out there that's going to inspire someone to get into space and rocks and stuff like that. But like The Expanse, Battlestar Galactica, that's probably inspiring tons of people. But just not
In a very dark way.
in a very dark way. And I'm looking forward to the optimistic sci-fi to come back. Of what we can be and not what we may be.
The old school Star Trek,
Yes.
like the original Star Trek and Next Generation, where it wasn't about war, it was about exploration.
Yeah, I would really like, again, I love The Expanse, but I would really like a show to and that's kind of like why I liked Arrival a lot, and even though I had some issues with Interstellar, I like the spirit of Interstellar, which is like, we can do great things if we put our mind to it.
You mentioned you were doing some comics. Are those available for people to find somehow
There
online magically?
is one, I wouldn't consider it particularly. It's all right. I haven't read it in like a couple of years. It's okay. It's called In the Ether, and the aspect I've always wanted to get into was, as much as I love all the sci-fi that's out, dude, I don't think there's like a mainstream that has the astronomical connection with the rest of it. Is there any sci-fi you can think of where people just go up and look at the stars? Like, you remember that scene in the new Star Trek where Captain Kirk, he's driving in Iowa and he comes to they're building the Enterprise, I always thought, just because of the canon of it, that not only because of the canon of it, it might have been interesting if on that road he saw the belts of the Milky Way and he wondered what was out there, because that's what Star Trek is, And so in my comic, I do have a scene where he just looks up at the sky, and this is what it's all about. Hopefully, I'll be able to finish this third one again, and be able to talk about it more in depth. But until that one comes out, I'm just kind of like, another one of those people that's saying like, I'm writing a novel, but never writes a novel. But at least I have 2 comics under my belt. But so hopefully, I'll get back to this one.
And so along those same lines, before we get into our main questions,
Sure.
where can people find more information about you? And then while we're at it as well, Griffith Observatory.
Griffith Observatory, you just go to their website. I don't have like a big presence like on the website. I don't have any presence on the website at all. And when you go up there, I'd be tucked away someplace where you couldn't find me. But my website is GUZillustrator.com, so it's just GUZillustrator.com. You can find a lot of my work there. And like all artists, every time I look at my work, I'm just like, nope, can't look at my work. You just see all the human aspects of it, and you see all the little flaws that probably no one else has seen, but you're just like, I can't believe I did that,
Well, it's never good enough. Always
It's never
good
good enough. There's a good quote by a comic book artist named John Romita, who's like, never think your last work was your best work, because if it is, you just quit. Just put it up, walk away, you're done. No, you always think you can do better.
All right, let's go into our general questions. These are the questions that we ask absolutely everyone.
Sure.
All right. First question is, Moon or Mars first?
I'm going to say Moon. Now, I'll tell you why. Even though we've been to the Moon, it's the logical first step. We set up there, and it's easier to get everywhere else once we're set up on the Moon, I think. So as much as I would like to see a new world, right now I'm comfortable with the robots, but in terms of humans, let's get to the Moon first. Let's take the right steps. Even though we're showing a picture of a guy playing with a remote control rover, I say, yeah, that's something I always try to do with my art. I try to add like a little bit of humor into it. I've been recently thinking of going more dark, but right now and I actually haven't done like an illustration I can post in some time. Everything right now is going right to the planetarium show. But hopefully I'll have some spare time in the upcoming months and be able to get back onto it.
Would you go?
To the moon?
The question is, would you go? Fill in the gap with whatever you want.
Would I go? Yes, I'd go.
So
Wherever,
what'd you fill in the gap with, by the way? To the moon, to space in general?
anywhere. I'll go anywhere. You know, it's a big universe, and the one disappointing thing about life to me is that I won't be able to see all of it.
When do you think humans will first land on Mars?
Optimistically, hopefully, 2035, but more realistically, 2050s.
When do you think humans will set foot on the moon again? Sometimes I screw that question up and forget to say again. And then the chat room yells at me, "We've already been there!" And so when will we go back to the moon?
Oh. Well, we're going to have people orbiting it next year.
Mm-hmm. But land, right? There's a very big difference between slingshotting like Apollo 8 style and actually
See, the thing is, you
stepping
want,
foot
like,
on it.
whatever date you want to set, you want to give 10 years to them to develop it. So, like, I want to say, 2025. Like, no, it'd probably be hopefully 2030s by at least.
All right, last question.
Okay.
This is the main one.
Yeah.
Why space?
Because we're in it. We're part of it. We are it. Space is. It's the thing. It's this connection of this perspective of space that we're down here, and space is out there. It's not the case. Like, you look at all those stars, you think all the stars are part of this collective club, this cosmic party that we're just pariahs of. But no, when you look at all those stars, each one of those stars is as far away from each other as we are from them. They think they're the loner. They think we are the grand manifest destiny. It's not the case. All of us, everything out there, is an equal part of this universe when you really think about it. So why space? Because it's us.
That was a great answer.
Oh, thank you.
Estevan, thank you so much for taking
No
time
problem.
out of your
Love it.
Saturday. That was a fantastic interview. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, comments from last week's show. Comments from next week's show. That's going to be impressive. I don't know how we're doing that. Yeah, we got a TARDIS in the back. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Look into her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lies. Filled with awesome expectation, this girl's a fascination. Nothing in her way will keep her from her destination. 'Cause she's fire walking, she's fire walking. When it's hard, she keeps on moving. Her heat keeps on improving. Yeah, she's fire walking, she's fire walking to be free.
We've always looked to the stars. They guide us, give us comfort, help us find our way. We see ourselves out there. When we look up, it inspires us. And we long for something we don't yet know. We yearn to go there. So, we venture forth.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. It's one small step for man, one giant leap for man.
The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not.
Many think we stopped exploring. But we know our journey didn't end. We've only just begun.
Orion is functioning perfectly at this point.
Come with us and explore tomorrow.
Welcome back to Tomorrow. Before we get started with comments from last week's show, not next week's show.
Next week's show.
Well, I want to give a huge thank you to all of the patrons of Tomorrow who've helped me this specific segment of this episode. Hold.
After all of that, Casper crashed.
Oh!
Way to go.
Oh.
Do we have tape?
Everyone
You're gonna
thinks
tape the mic
Casper
up?
is friendly.
Yeah, because I have no clip.
Do you have no clip, or is it? I know it's broken, but do you have no clip?
It's broken.
I can. I have magic tricks that I can use to make that work better.
I do too. It's called tape.
All right. Let me know when you're ready, Dada.
I'm back up.
All right, give me a second.
Stop that. No, stop.
Casper was busy with spooky action at a distance.
That's true.
That's funny. I see what you did there.
I think the internet's going to roast me over that one because I probably said something wrong because it's quantum. So,
Because it's quantum. Quantum leap.
Yeah, see, I made a joke.
It
That
was funny too. It was super funny.
that was a good one. Good one.
A little. There. A little something. Sorry.
Sorry.
We're good.
Right. Sounds right.
Back from black, coming into
Number two.
commercial.
And welcome back. Before we get started with comments from last week's show.
Next week's show.
Last week's show.
Whatever.
I want to give
We need to look forward. Like
the future.
Esteban already said, we need to look forward, and so that's what we're doing.
We have our Escape Velocity patrons. These are people who have contributed $10 or more to this specific episode. We also have our Orbital patrons. These are people who have contributed $5 or more to this specific episode. And our Suborbital patrons. These are people who have contributed $2.50. $2.50 or more to this specific episode. They, of course, they're going to get access to After Dark as soon as it's available on demand, and a bunch of other really cool things to find out all the rewards and different ways that you can help keep this show going week after week, month after month, and year after year. Head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. We're a crowdfunded show. Every single penny helps us a great deal. We have this incredible studio space. We're bringing on incredible guests. I hope you guys love what we're doing with the show. And if you do love what we're doing with the show, Patreon is a great way to help support the show, something that hopefully you're getting something out of, as well as you do get things in return. So I don't like calling it a donation because you are getting something, like we give you something back.
Yes.
All right, Capcom, talk to me about last week's
I'll try.
comments.
So not
Let's
forward
look
thinking.
backwards.
History.
The show is called Tomorrow. Okay, sorry. Last week was Paul Hildebrandt from Fight for Space.
Yep.
In case anybody forgot.
Hopefully y'all had a chance to watch the documentary. It was
Hopefully
really good.
y'all did.
Hopefully y'all did.
This first comment comes off of YouTube from Laura Thomas. Yay! Seems like India will soon have its own human spaceflight program.
Yeah, the more entities, but the more entities that have capabilities of sending humans to space, the higher the chances of humans going to Moon, Mars, and beyond.
Yeah, there's a lot of us down here on this rock.
Quite a few.
So more people who are trying to do it, the better.
So huzzah! Yeah, absolutely.
Woo, totally.
Yeah, the more countries, the more private agencies. Absolutely. It's only a good thing. Next up.
It's a weird situation too with India because they officially aren't working on human spaceflight right now, but they've been individually been working on all the pieces. Like just last year, they had a successful test of their new heat shield technology to successfully bring back a capsule. So it's like they're working on it, but they're not officially working on it. But all the pieces are coming into place.
Do you need to be officially working on it to be? I mean, does officially working on it actually matter? I mean, if you have the technology, I mean, yeah. Anyhow, yeah. All right, next up.
Yeah.
Next one comes off of Reddit from Mr. Macabar. Says, not Moon or Mars should be first, but building an independent space economy that makes Moon or Mars missions easier, more sustainable, and most importantly, politically and economically viable for an environment similar to today's.
That seems a lot like the Jeff Bezos vision of the future, does it not?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that feels like, right?
Yeah,
That-
like Cislunar 1000.
Yeah, well, a little bit United Launch Alliance,
Yeah.
but a little bit Jeff Bezos. So, I seem to remember, and anyone here, correct me if I'm wrong, Bezos talking about how he wants to. He's not necessarily looking to go to Moon or Mars. He's looking to set up a space-based economy, whatever that might be, and that's probably going to be near Earth. Or was that Tory that said that?
That was Tory.
No, Tori, yeah.
Well, I mean, Tory does the cislunar stuff too. I thought Bezos was saying that. Am I making that up? Anybody? Chat room? All right.
I mean,
what's going
you
on?
make up something? How
Where
weird.
are we?
I've never
I
heard
feel
such a
I feel like
thing.
he is trying to like approach as many markets as he can. I mean, he's trying to tackle the whole suborbital tourism. He's tackling orbital delivery of payloads,
He just
and
bought
I mean,
Whole
he's also
Foods.
doing on a study to deliver cargo to the surface of the moon. So
Start game a lot.
You think Whole Foods is expensive now? Wait till it's in space.
Actually, considering the current expense of when you go to Whole Foods, there's actually not going to be too much of
You
a
won't see a
gain
difference?
in how much it is.
Just
So,
kidding. That's how we're getting to space. Thank you, Whole Foods.
I mean, they bought Whole Foods for what, 13.7 billion, but you actually needed 15 billion or more to use your debit card at Whole Foods. So.
Jatchirai, I don't know how to say it. Bezos is the one who wanted to move.
Teriyaki?
Yeah, sure. Wanted to move the industry into space. I hate you all.
All right.
I was doing
suppose
so
it's-
well with
it should
names
be-
earlier.
Duriachai.
Sure.
We'll
But-
figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right.
Yeah.
For heaven's sakes. Okay.
Next up,
that's the thing
Capcom.
with new usernames. You're allowed to mispronounce them.
This is true.
I do it with old usernames too, though. So.
Yeah.
He does it with my name.
Yep.
What's your name again?
Australia.
Hey.
Wait a second.
Nothing from the peanut gallery. Calm down, control room. All right. Next up, Capcom.
This one comes, and I'm not making this up, from YouTube.
This is fantastic.
The
I love this
username
name.
is-
I love this username.
The real second Earl of Rochester.
That is classic.
So this was a much longer comment, but the part that we took was roughly translated: no more non-disposable people going into space. This is an important topic. It's important for space, and it's important for gender relations. This is the point that needs consideration and real understanding, without which we will not become an interplanetary species.
No more non-disposable people going into space.
Send the Expendables.
Oh yeah, so
suppose is what
so
they're
let's see,
saying,
what is
so.
that? It's Schwarzenegger and
Stallone.
Stallone and
Bruce Willis.
I think Bruce Willis was in one of them.
Right, I think-
Jason
oil
Strahan.
drilling team.
oh no, we need to keep
Terry
Jason
Crews?
down here.
Terry
Terry,
Crews
no, we
as
need
well.
to keep Terry here. Yeah.
I guess help me understand what they're saying, because I don't think I understand it.
So the part that we cut out of
Are we
this comment
saying-
says,
are we
after
saying-
the Challenger disaster, I can't speak, I'm so sorry. After the Challenger disaster, when Christina McAuliffe was killed, they said no more regular people going into space. But no more non-disposable people going into space. But that's something that needs to be addressed, right? It's important for space, and it's important for gender relations. This is a point that needs consideration and real understanding. Basically, I think
Regular people should be going to space?
I think that's the argument, is that no, regular people should be going into space. Kind of like things that we've always said, right? The more people we can get into space, the more people we can get to have that overview effect, the more understanding and the more just sort of empathy isn't quite the right word for our planet, but a lot of people say that you get up there and then you don't see those borders like you do on a map.
Sure.
Right? And so we're just the people all together floating around in space on one rock. And that's all we have. And then all of a sudden you have a much more global consideration and understanding of who we are, and where we need to get to, I think is, and if the real second Earl of Rochester
Is there a fake second Earl of Rochester?
needs to correct me, I will certainly take that debate on.
I think there was a point that Paul made that Kristen McAuliffe was somebody that a lot of new people could connect with because
Go to your camera.
my camera is the back of my head.
That's fine.
Because
Oh my God, that's amazing! We've ruined the hologram effect.
No.
Everyone.
previously all of the astronauts were fighter pilots and test pilots and
Right.
military personnel, and they've been trained to do this and this and that. And Kristen McAuliffe was just a regular person. She was a teacher. So people were able to connect with her because she was a teacher, because she was still blown away by spaceflight and how cool it is to be able to get this opportunity to go to space and things like that. So a lot of people rallied around her and were able to connect to her in that respect. And we don't have that in any of the astronaut class. Everybody's, super science literate and, doctors and physicists and astronomers and test pilots. And, I'm just a dude. How do I connect with them?
That is a good. A, Space Mike, you're hilarious. B, that is a very good point. All right. Yeah, gravity was restored. There you go. That is a good point. Is our astronauts are not very relatable anymore. Although I feel like the latest astronaut class, for whatever reason, seems super relatable. Am I?
No, I feel that way too.
It may be that we're getting closer to that, but I think it needs to go farther to where just a regular dude. What specifically? What amazing thing have you done in your life? Nothing. I'm an astronaut.
Sure. Yeah. But we'll get there. I think we'll get there in our lifetime.
Right, but I think that's the way we need to go in order to be able to connect and make it real for the large swath of the human population.
I wonder, is spaceflight right now too complex for regular people to go on extended duration missions and things like that? Is that maybe the problem?
Well, it's
right now?
impossible. No, I think the problem right now is a regular person can't go on an extended mission, right? It's so expensive.
Neither
Why
can an
would
irregular person at the moment.
Neither can an irregular person.
Neither can an extraordinary person at the moment. We can't do interstellar travel. We can't travel to another planet.
Let's just getting people into space, just getting economy into space, which is going to be the first step, right? Interstellar, all that fun jazz, that's happening not in our lifetime, most likely. But getting people into space, it's stupid expensive to do right now. I think that's fundamentally the problem.
Yeah.
And so because it's stupid expensive to do, we don't have a desire to send up the mere mortals, right? We want to send up the people that are going to be able to get the best bang for our buck for the role in which they need to do.
Right.
And so that's why we're in this situation. So in my opinion, the most important thing here is going to be to reduce the cost of this so that mere mortals can simply afford to do it themselves. Right, and I think companies like Virgin Galactic and Xcore and even the balloon companies,
Worldview.
Zero to Infinity?
Zero to Infinity is one
Yeah.
of them I'm thinking of. Is Worldview? I thought they were the satellite company. Are they? They're the
Worldview Satellite Company.
Oh,
They're looking
my
at
mistake.
the one in Tucson.
But the companies like that, I think those are the ones that are going to create that price point where mere mortals can go. And the neat thing about all of that is we're only 6 months away. All right, moving on. Next comment.
Comes from YouTube. This one comes from Brad C. Goodness. It says, like Paul said, most astronauts have either military experience, STEM background, or both. And while those experiences do prep people for being an astronaut, it doesn't excite or inspire the majority of Americans. If we're going to have a larger space presence as well as colonize other planets, we have got to diversify the background of our space passengers.
But I feel like that's where this latest space astronaut campaign is. Dudda's points are all right, But from a NASA standpoint, and it's still stupid expensive to send people up there, this does feel like a very diverse group. It feels like they're very relatable people. They seem fairly charismatic and social media savvy. I feel like it's not gonna be a thing where tomorrow all of a sudden half of the world is able to go to space.
Sure.
It's not a realistic expectation. It will be baby steps, and I feel like this is a really good first baby step. Is this next group of astronaut candidates, followed by Virgin Galactic, X Corp, Zero to Infinity, so forth and so on.
Yeah,
If I may, I know. Oh,
No, go ahead.
I know you hate to compare things to the past, but if we go way, way back and compare this to kind of the first outposts and pioneering outposts, when the Spanish were trying to explore the New World, and even later, after the United States was already formed, we were sending out small search expeditions like Lewis and Clark, for example. People who were doing expeditions like that were specialists of a sort. And it wasn't until later, once, a little bit of the territory was a little bit figured out, that they wanted to start bringing their families with them. And that is what I think drew, where these forts were started to be created, that eventually turned into cities, because, all right, these specialist people want to bring their families with them to an area that they've established is now safe, and a whole industry starts popping up to support not only those specialists but their families and all the people who are working in that system, and it becomes more of a standard community that we're used to. And right now we are in that specialist phase, the extreme specialists who are qualified to go out and do these first surveying missions, so to speak. Even though spaceflight, we've been doing it for 50 years now, it's very much just the journey itself, just the ride itself of going into space is a very dangerous thing. And it's still in the realm of specialists, and it's not until the space industry is opened up more, and if plans like United Launch Alliance's plan to have 1,000 people living and working in space, not all 1,000 of those people are going to be specialists if that plan comes to fruition. A majority of them will be specialists, but a lot of them are going to be almost more in the service industry, if you will, supporting those people and giving us the type of communities that we're used to. And I feel like we are probably realistically 100 years away from the first kind of forts that have more than just those specialists, that start bringing along their families and start bringing along the support staff of making people's lives comfortable. So I think it'll happen, but just this is the phase that we're at right now.
I hope you're off on that timeline. I agree with I agree with everything but the timeline. I think we live in a time where progress happens at an exponential rate, and so I'm hopeful, dear Space Mike.
So we're gonna send the Starship Nina Pinta and Santa Maria, kill all the aliens, and most of the people in them are gonna die.
I would hope not.
Well, that's what's gonna happen on Mars for any microbes from when we land.
For it.
All right. Moving on.
Next comment comes off of Reddit. Go ahead. What?
Did you still have anything that you wanted to add to that? Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. We interrupted you, and I'm sorry.
It's fine.
What did? Okay.
It's a cyclical issue, right? Like, it's difficult, so you need somebody who's highly trained and who can actually withstand all of the pressures and do all of the things, because you don't want somebody to screw up on the thing, right? And so therefore now it's a really small number of people that you can or want to send, and because it is difficult, then you can't do a whole lot, blah blah. Like, it's that kind of issue. Like, so therefore not a lot of people have done it, because not a lot of people are trained, and you got to train more people, and then you got to send a couple more people up, and then eventually it's just like That's okay. That's all.
All right.
That's
All right,
really what I was
next up.
getting at. That's
You have to.
Yep. Next comment comes off of Reddit from Brandon Mark. Pick any day in 1972 and humanity indisputably can go to the moon and back. Now pick any day and today and we indisputably cannot do the same thing. Nor can we next year or the year after that. Hell, people doubt we'll even do it in 10 years from now. When we supposedly have a mandate to achieve just that goal. Yeah, that's to suck, Source.
It does suck. We've taken huge strides. Since Apollo, we've continually taken steps backwards in our human spaceflight program, right? Apollo was the top. It's never been better or bigger or badder than Apollo. It could do the most. It was actually one of the lesser expensive things for putting stuff into low Earth orbit. It was amazing. Then we took a pretty big step down and we moved to shuttle. Can't go to the moon anymore. We can orbit a bunch. It costs more than Apollo. It was supposed to cost less. We take a step down. We get rid of shuttle. We can't do any of it anymore. I mean, Soyuz can send some stuff up, but if we want to even build the International Space Station today, even the thing that Shuttle did, if we just want to build the International Space Station, we can't do that. So I am looking forward to, so that is the status of the space industry at this exact moment, if I'm taking broad strokes. The future does look bright. The future looks great. Space Launch System, eventually bigger, badder, more awesome than Apollo. You've got SpaceX working on a rocket, bigger, badder, more awesome than Apollo. You've got Blue Origin working on a rocket, bigger, badder, more awesome than Apollo, which means we now, for the first time in history, will potentially have 3 separate transportation systems potentially capable of sending humans to the moon, Mars, or beyond. That's pretty incredible. The problem is we're in this weird in-between phase where we're not quite there yet phase where it's being worked on, it's being actively developed and actively designed, actively built, but it's just not done yet. So we just have to wait for it to be done. And with all things aerospace, for some reason, it takes so long. It takes so long. And they'll be like, oh, it'll take 2 years. And 10 years later, they're like, all right, we're 2 years out. Like, oh, you said that 10 years ago. So,
Yeah.
I still feel like the last 30 or so years of spaceflight haven't been a waste.
They haven't been. Allow me to say, though,
Sure.
if we didn't have Shuttle and we had Apollo instead of Shuttle, we never got rid of the Saturn V. Well, not Apollo, but we didn't get rid of the Saturn V. Imagine what we could have done.
A lot.
So much more.
But I also...
So much more!
I also wonder, too, if the experience of things like long-duration spaceflight and the management operations of operating a vehicle for
all of that
decades at a time,
Sure,
like
so-
they're doing with the space station, would have come as easy, or would have come as well as things have sort of happened over the past 20 to 30
I'll make
years.
the argument, and this may not be true, so I look forward to your hate mail. That Skylab did 90% of what, we learned most of what we needed to on Skylab, not on station, not on International Space Station. Now, there is some long duration, vehicle operation stuff that we certainly didn't learn on Skylab, but long duration living in space, the operations of you can't treat this like Apollo guys, calm down, give us some break time, that's all Skylab, that's not ISS.
Yeah.
So I would make the argument that Skylab was a more pivotal space station than International Space Station.
That's Benjamin at TMRO.tv.
Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of the NASA people that watch are upset at me right now. And to be fair, I used very broad strokes there, right? So
I was gonna
I'm
say,
absolutely
maybe,
sure that
I
our
think if you had
details.
said that 5 to 10 years ago, I would have agreed.
Okay.
The unfortunate thing is that we learned a lot in Skylab's very tiny, short amount of time.
Sure.
And we've learned more during the International Space Station time.
Have we?
Listen. But if you were to take all of the time, if you were to have stretched Skylab's time out across the entire time that International Space Station has been going on, I feel like then yes, I would agree with Skylab part. But I think we're at that point now, probably maybe 5 years ago or so, where we kind of duplicated everything we learned on Skylab, where we basically didn't learn a whole lot new.
Yep.
Other than maybe a couple of things, and I would have said sure 90%, but I think from that point on is all basically new.
Take into
You
consideration
mean
too.
learning new things about human spaceflight, right? Is that what you mean?
No, I mean all of the things. I mean growing
general?
vegetables.
Because
I
I
mean
just
throwing
strongly-
fire out of
strongly
the freaking cube model. All of those different how to dock and berth and have 8 different vehicles attached to the station at the same time. I don't think that was something that we learned on Skylab. I think it's something that we learned on the International Space Station. I don't know that was something that we could have learned on Skylab, but we definitely learned it on station. Like I said, if he had made that statement 5 to 10 years ago, I would have been absolutely on board. I feel like, yes, it's really unfortunate that it has taken us this long. We kind of didn't learn a whole lot of new stuff, just basically duplicated ourselves. But then as of about 5 to 10 years, not even 10 years ago, 5 to 7 years ago, I think nearly everything that we've learned has been new or newish.
Take into consideration as well that the ISS wasn't quote unquote completed until the final shuttle flight.
Which, oh my God,
That just sucks already.
that's ridiculous.
just-
Right?
That makes me
your
more depressed.
So your concentration has for the last 20 years or 12. It's been in the air 12 years. Anyways, for the better part of a decade, it was being built, and now we've only just now
Which
gotten
goes
to
to
doing
show,
science.
I mean, you're ultimately proving the awfulness of it more than anything else. One launch, we have Skylab.
I don't disagree, but I'm saying that the science didn't really start until maybe 5 years ago.
Right.
I mean, the bulk of the science now. I mean, the station is now being done being built, so now they can concentrate on doing science and.
I really wish that Lisa was here to tell us more about a lot of the science experiments, because they've been pioneering research into osteoporosis, multiple sclerosis, ALS victims. I mean, just the ground applications of the medication that they've been researching and developing. I mean, a lot of if you guys get flu vaccines, which you definitely should, a lot of those new vaccines are first tested at the space station because they can grow them so quickly and fight the fast mutations of all these different new strains.
I don't think I articulated my point correctly, though. I mean, yes, I get that. But what I'm saying, so that's all science that's related to a station in space, but it doesn't need to be on the International Space Station. That just needs to be science in space. What I was talking, we were referencing like long duration stays in space, like humans in space. What does it take to actually run a space station? Yeah, the human spaceflight part of this. What you're referencing is science in space. Now, I am not saying that space station hasn't done amazing science in space. It has. It has done all of that. That's amazing. But there's no reason why that needed to be on space station and couldn't exist on Mir, or couldn't exist on Skylab, or whatever, right?
Solutes or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. That science can occur on any floating space station, star, right? Maybe weird example. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like logistics of what it takes to do a station, how humanity can get out there and actually do additional things. I haven't seen a whole lot come out of space station with regards to new innovative things. I see that come out of Skylab, certainly, but then like I'm sure there's a little bit of stuff here and there on station. Actually, you brought up a really great point, berthing and docking multiple vehicles. That's not a Mir thing, or Skylab thing. That would be space station.
Yeah, there's only one docking port.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that's a really great example of where space station is doing innovative, new, cool things, and like the logistics behind that. It's not just the technical side of it, but all the logistics of having to move things around. And that's actually another thing of them like picking up and moving pieces and modules of the space station. That is actually another thing that we did learn and will be important for space-based manufacturing. So I'm on board with that part of it. But again, okay, we've hammered this. This is all a roundtable discussion.
Yes,
this is a future roundtable discussion. We have a roundtable coming up next month. Every month that has 5 shows. One of the shows is a roundtable. Finally. And I'm sorry for interrupting you, Space Mike. I didn't mean to derail you,
well,
but I
wanted to stipulate because you guys were saying just generally what we've learned at Skylab and International Space Station in a human space flight, and what you guys are talking about. I for the most part agree. There's a lot of new things, and just the logistics of working with all these different countries, especially the formation of the space shuttle. I mean, the space station. It's a miracle we were able to sit down at the table with all these partners and hammer out a deal in the first place. But what we've learned, like total, the amount of discoveries that we've made at the space station are monumental and affect people's daily lives. But from the human space flight and actually the logistics and the technical details of doing long duration space flight, I mean, we might not have learned a whole lot. I think that we've learned a lot of things of what not to do at the space station.
Well, that's still learning.
But that's important.
That's still learning.
Yeah.
And before one more comment on this before we go, and this is from our comments, which is Seki says Beam is innovative, and Beam is innovative, but it doesn't need to be attached to the International Space Station. Beam is a module as part of its own, designed to be part of its own space station. Beam is kind of testing the technologies for the Bigelow station. So again, that doesn't need to be International Space Station. That's basically trying to say we don't need space station, although using space station as a test platform. So maybe I'm both making my argument and not making my argument at the same time. I don't know. Next, last comment, and then we're out.
Weird for you. Next.
That was an amazing. Who picked that comment? Dutta, was that one of yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good. Boosh! We went off this way. I look forward to your angry letters. All right.
Last comment comes off of YouTube from Felix Winter. It says, those kids were glorious.
Winter is coming.
The way they put their opinion was truly beautiful. I am in awe. I wish there were more adults that would make such an intelligent appearance.
Yeah, I thought they were quite well articulate. Better than I am, apparently.
They talk good.
They learned in words.
Yep.
They spake well.
I was sad at what they said, but I can't fault them for it, right? Like I can see where they drew their conclusions, and they're not wrong, and it makes me sad that that's what the youth thinks of the future, as it were.
I don't think that's how the majority of youth feels.
I don't think the majority of youth thinks like that. That was an amazing, like they were pretty amazing. But the idea of we should fix our financial problems down here before we work up there. I think that I would think that a lot of people think that way. Fix our problems down here. Look at the stuff down here. I think that's the majority. Whether it's young or whatever, I think that's how a majority of people do think, and that was just a really great way of articulating that. So yes, I totally agree, Winter. Yeah. All right. That's our show. I'd like to also thank our ground support patrons for helping to make this show happen. These are people who've contributed between 1 penny and $2.49. Once again, every single penny helps. You also get your name in the show, which is pretty cool. And we'll leave it up for just an extra second so you can find your name, because that is getting to be a very long list week after week. And we do appreciate every new patron that signs up over at patreon.com/TMRO. That's our show this week. Next week, we've got Marshall Culpepper, the CEO and co-founder of, I think it's CubeOS. It's basically open source software for like CubeSats and like doing things to help control these things.
Sweet.
It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah,
So,
it's spelled KUBOS, and if you don't make the OS large, it looks like Kubos.
So that's coming up next week. For those of you watching live, or if you are a Patreon suborbital or above subscriber, After Dark is up next. World's slowest dissolve. So Colton, just so you know, I'm sending everyone back to the original chat room here.
Oh, it's okay. I can't log in there either.
Yeah, the only chat I've seen all show has been the Twitch chat.
Yeah, that was not a good chat experience for us.
I just stayed in the regular chat room, so.
For us
I
here
got
in the studio. Yeah. The problem is it was really difficult for us to like push it to air or actually work with it inside of the studio. That was not flushed out well at all. All right, we'll get that. We'll keep working on it. We need to do an open. What's your name? Hologram. What was your favorite story? What's your name? I'm a horrible human being.
Yes.
God.
You.
Yeah, we know.
I'm not all that of a person.
You scream
I have a
one.
name.
Hologram.
I think I'll do asteroid redirect winds down, deep space gateway gain support.
That's a lot of words.
Jesus. No, that's fine. I mean, that works. Okay. Spiky hair, dude.
Spooky action in space.
Spooky. I have an interview with Esteban Guzman talking about art and science. How art collides with science. How art intersects with science. Spart? Space art? Spart?
Spart.
Space art is hereby known as Spart. You're welcome.
That sounds like the combination of the words sprite and fart.
Well, it's like a.
Oh,
it's
God,
like
it's a fart.
It's a citrusy fart, is what that would be.
Can't take you anywhere.
Didn't even take him anywhere.
I know. Didn't even make it out the door.
Why? Why did I say that?
Thank you, Spartacus.
You have an interview with.
I have an interview with
Esteban
Esteban Guzman, right? Yes.
Talking about the importance of art in space and science.
Yeah, there you go. Talking about the importance of art in space and science engineering. Okay? And then you will take us into the show. Right?
Stay tuned. Tomorrow begins at this exact moment in time.
It starts next week, apparently. Here's number one.
It started yesterday.
Here's number one.
Coming up, as asteroid redirect mission winds down, Deep Space Gateway gains support.
Spooky action in space.
I have an interview with Estevez Guzman talking about the intersection of art and science in space.
No.
Estevez?
Yeah, Estevez. Wait a second.
Estevan. What did I say?
Yeah, you said
Estevez.
Estevez.
You know what? Just making up names.
Yep. Harry Johnson? Like, I don't.
You're hereby known as Bob. Estevez. I don't know how I did that.
Like Esteban, but with a V.
I'm just combining
instead of a
words.
B. Esteban.
All right, let's try this again. Number two.
Coming up, as asteroid redirect mission winds down, Deep Space Gateway gains support.
Spooky action in space.
I have an interview with Esteban Guzman talking about art and science.
And I've got comments, all of that and more, coming up on this episode of Tomorrow.
Did I get it right that time? Did I get it right that time? I got it right that time.
Yes,
All
you
right.
did.
Yeah, right that time,
But
it felt weird because all of our energy levels were different.
Dada?
I'm cool with it if you are.
I wasn't paying attention, so if you say yes, then I'm okay with it.
Yes.
Like I felt like I came in there all
Did
just
you
like
bring
next
in-
time on Dragon Ball Z, and Jerry's all like, stop. And then Ben is all just like, and I have
Oh my god. Did you get any good comments from people watching? Were they? Oh no, I meant like after the fact, like a text message. All right. Making fun of you at all? Those are the most fun.
Someone sent me an unflattering screenshot.
Yeah.
When you have 24 frames per second, it's super easy to get those.
Is this your after dark now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're just lounging.
Yeah, we're hanging out.
People watching you?
I don't know why, but yes. Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes we talk about cool
Oh yeah,
stuff.
you can. In fact, you can walk behind the space station if you want. Yeah. You can go behind.
Go
there
outside.
you go. Go outside. Without a spacesuit, it's not exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And then he collapsed.
He's dead.
Yeah,
Dead.
And now he's out. He's out.
All right, we need to get the dead body out of here before the fire marshal comes.
Who never came. But we have a remarkably clean. You can pop up. You want to grab a chair? You want to?
Yeah, grab a.
Those are heavy, be careful. Yeah.
We're gonna make you do that work though. That's anywhere you want. I'll just move. Yeah, right in front of her. That's perfect.
Yeah, actually, that's
No, I liked it. It was perfect.
It was probably totally fine.
Lame. Oh. Hang on. Let's. Yeah, that's why.
There you go.
That's exactly why we can't have that.
Yes, you just.
All right, here. Move it. Go in between, behind Jared and Carrie Ann, like in between the two, because this is zoomed all the way out.
Split us.
Here.
Well, move Mike over.
All right,
can move
there.
Mike
Here.
over.
Like way back there. All right, now come.
Mike.
Or you need enough room to spin.
Duh.
That's why. So.
That is kind of amazing.
So we used to have those chairs as the primary like interview chairs and whatnot. The problem is you may have noticed I fidget a lot, and so I would do exactly that. I would just sit there and spin back and forth in my chair, and Carrie Ann was like, "Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!"
I'm going to do a physics experiment.
Definitely make me sound like I'm the bad guy here.
That's because you're the bad guy here.
I'm the adult.
Wow.
That's different.
It's weird how that changes
Adults are
in-
bad people.
How that's different in 0G because you're on a space station, so that's 0G that you're doing that in. Right? It's micro.
Yeah.
We're in a centrifuge, so it's microgravity. Oh, right. Yeah.
Artificial.
That's what I meant. Artificial.
Artificial gravity.
Artificial group. Yeah.
Straight up artificial. I mean, the world would be turning behind us if we were in a centrifuge.
Don't ruin the illusion. All right, I'm going back to the regular chat room.
All right, well, good luck with that.
I'll just.
Oh man.
Ha!
Ugh. It's just you.
Other people sit
Yeah.
Yeah, basically for
watching them react.
a little while.
So this is the After Dark segment where Esteban Guzman learns that sometimes people will watch people and does not understand the
Not
concept
only
of...
will people watch people, but they'll watch you looking at them.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, I'm
In
not really
silence
looking
and
at
awkwardness.
them. I'm really looking at a camera.
Hello,
You're
people.
you're acknowledging them.
Oh, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
I love the hologram. How he's like intently look like. Yeah. I feel like.
Run away! Run away!
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the After Dark Show. Or sometimes we talk about stuff and
Like kind of like
things.
a theme song, like where you're like, see you tomorrow.
Go to space.
We do now.
Well, sounds like we need to write it.
Yeah, it's firewalking.
Oh, firewalking.
Your chat room has a whole bunch of other crap that mine does not.
My what does?
Your chat room
Yeah.
has a whole bunch of other stuff that mine does not.
I'm in Twitch. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's why.
There you go.
Okay.
There's stuff and things and boxes. What the hell?
Yeah.
Force field windows.
Yeah, we're using modern. That's next. That's future technology. Back to the interview. Yeah, we use fields, magnetic energy, photon fields.
We use spooky
like-
action at a distance. too.
No, we use spooky action up close.
Yeah.
Now we're able to
Spooky action
generate
at a
the
close
artificial
vector.
gravity.
Mike, I apologize for making you change before the show, but it does completely change the effect.
Wait, what happened?
He was wearing a black T-shirt underneath his white, or underneath his blue T-shirt.
And you were getting
And
buried
with
into
the beard, it made it look like he was just wearing a really dark-colored ascot between the blue shirt. And then, unless I looked at him on the screen, if I looked at like the return, it looked like his hair was totally slicked back, and he looked like a coffee house poet beatnik. It was very confusing for me. Like, this is a totally new look on Mike that I've never seen before.
Mike's gonna start.
What's happened in a week?
And he was like, there's 8 minutes to the show. I'm just going to go change. And then he did.
Mike's gonna like start going like, Boeing has a new space plane.
Hey guys, the Canadian space.
I hate that so much.
What's up?
Astronauts landed.
Oh,
Yeah.
Canadian?
if you're in Canada,
Loch Canadia's just down, over near Pasadena.
that's right. It's absolutely correct.
Yep.
I feel like in Minnesota, we could say stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just, Canada's just up 35, eh?
It was just up 35. It was like
Yeah.
Canada was like 2.5 hour drive.
I know.
North.
Nort.
Nort.
You gotta go up north.
It's
Gotta go up
It's
north.
Nort from here.
Jilly Bean. That's a clever name. I'm loving seeing a spinning guest.
We like to see it dancing.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Wait. Can you do an interpretive dance of how you thought the show went today? That would be great. Yeah. All right, that's fair. It's pretty much every show.
Yeah.
It's pretty much all of them.
Oh my gosh.
No, I did all my dancing yesterday. I was at a party in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And there's just there's instruments in the living room for some reason. And there's just these people that were just, playing songs and no one was really paying attention to them. So I had to get up in there and dance, it's just a boredom.
What's the? I saw you have a tattoo. Is that our local system?
It is where the planets were when I was born.
Nice.
Oh, that's really cool. How many planets do you have on your arm?
I have put in there because it was a planet when I was born.
So here's the thing. Back in the day, we used to have this question of like, what's your favorite orbiter? Back when the space shuttles were still flying, and no one ever picked Atlantis, and so I picked Atlantis, and then I made it this thing where you had to pick Atlantis, right? Or you were wrong. Right, that was our thing. We even had it like if you dialed our 800 number, it'd be like, press 5 to find out your favorite orbiter. You press 5, it'd be like, Atlantis, and then it would hang up on you.
We even did a show on that too.
We
there
did
was an
we?
entire episode
And
in season 8 about which one's your favorite orbiter. So
Why one shuttle over the other?
Oh, there's no reason. It's just a running shtick. There is no. I mean,
Wait, no. But people pick different shuttles, different orbiters for different reasons.
most people will pick the orbiter that they first saw launch.
Right.
So if you went down, the very first orbiter you saw was Endeavour, you'd be like, Endeavour. It's the newest of the fleet. You know, it's blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people would be like, Discovery, because it's the workhorse, something, Hubble. And all those people were wrong, because it was truly Atlantis. So the problem is the orbiter stopped flying. And so for a long time, we really struggled to find our new shtick, the thing that you'd be like, no, you're wrong. And it became Pluto. And so now I've taken the hard stance of Pluto's a planet, when in reality, and this is true, I don't care. It's just a classification. It doesn't matter. But it is so much fun to be like, I'm sorry, you meant the 9th planet? You meant the 9th planet, Jared? Or, by the new classification, you mean planet 247?
yeah, basically.
I always have a preference for Endeavour because it's the hometown one.
Aren't they all hometown?
I was about to say all
you
the
mean like
shuttles.
yeah, they were all built here.
I mean, technically, you know.
Well, it's the one that's here now.
Well,
I
Endeavour
found
was
it
built
so
here
funny.
twice.
I found it so funny when they announced who was getting the shuttles, and Texas threw like a huge hissy fit about Los Angeles getting it. They're like, "Why are they getting it? We should have a shuttle. Why is California getting the space shuttle?" And it's
Because
like,
we put out a better
because
chance than they ever do.
He made it. Like,
Well, and remember, it was who put out the best bids for it. In Texas, did you see Texas's bid? Like what they were going, like their whole
No,
proposal?
I didn't.
It
Was it
was
poop?
awful. It was truly awful, and they were all surprised. Like, I mean, and they didn't take care of their Saturn V for the longest time.
No.
And everyone's looking at them going, "Yeah, no." Like, well, we fly these things. It's like, well, I mean, good for you, but you didn't build it, you didn't launch it.
yeah.
And you didn't put out a really good proposal, so you just thought you were going to get one because you said we think we are own. No.
Yeah.
No.
Jack
didn't
asks
take
why
care of that
Atlantis
last
is the
thing we
best.
gave you.
Atlantis is the best because nobody else ever picked it.
Yeah.
That was all.
That was. I found the one that like no one ever picked, and so it was Atlantis. Although to be fair, I do think Atlantis was either my first or one of my first shuttle launches. So I think I
It
can't.
ended up to be my first shuttle launch.
Boom.
It just
Club
happenstance
Atlantis.
that way. So that was like,
But what you're never allowed to say ever is that all the shuttles look the same.
but they do.
See, he knows.
What?
It's racist.
That's not racist.
It's shuttlist.
It's orbitist.
It's orbitist.
It's orbital
Spacist?
vehicleist.
It's STSists.
Oh,
That's hard to say.
This one's got eggshell with gray tiles, and this one's got eggshell with black tiles. Okay.
Okay, cool.
That Enterprise
Ugh.
the one thing named Enterprise didn't go into space.
That's because the Star Trek fans did it wrong, right? So the comment being
Yeah.
miffed that Enterprise never made it to space. That's because they forced them to name the first shuttle Enterprise, and they shouldn't have done that. It should have been the first one to go to space named Enterprise, but instead it ended up being the
Just this weird plane with like a weird butt fin on the back.
a weird plane with a weird butt fin on the back. I think now that is the shirt for the show. Weird plane in like a picture of the butt fin.
Yeah. She's
No,
thick.
Enterprise was it was designed to go to space.
was.
But then they were all like, it's too heavy, we can do better. We can make it faster and stronger. We can rebuild it.
Was Enterprise designed for space?
Enterprise was not
I thought
designed
it
to
was
go to
designed
space.
just for atmospheric testing.
Enterprise was for atmospheric testing, and they were going to refit it to go to space, but deemed it to be too expensive.
Gotcha.
How is refitting it not
Refitting is
saying
it,
design,
if it was
parts of
designed to
that
go to
were made
space,
out of
then it would have
wood.
gone to space without refitting.
Oh my god, okay. Semantics, but yeah.
Really?
The
It
original-
didn't have the. All right.
It didn't have a what?
Parts of it were made out of wood, man.
Enterprise?
It didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't have the crew capsule. Everything was just skin like an aircraft.
It was a mock-up that could actually go through the air.
Was there really parts of it made out of wood? It's apparently a lot like
Don't
lesser.
take my word for it. Look it up yourself.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that right now, but I will look up Enterprise because I thought it was a lot further along than that.
No,
than-
all of the
I thought there were humans in
all of the heat tiles, the OMS pods, everything is just fiberglass skins. It was an aluminum structure with
Wait. I thought part of the problem was the ceramic tiles, the heat tiles, were falling off in the drop tests.
No, they didn't. No,
they didn't have them
They were
actually
fiberglass.
attached.
They were.
So there weren't actual thermal tiles attached to Enterprise. It was just a
where
profile
was
to try to
where
give the
was
same
it that they were
aerodynamics.
falling off?
Columbia.
Like just on the pad?
The thermal tiles were falling off of Columbia when it was being delivered from Palmdale to Florida in preparation for STS-1.
Yeah, something like 15% of the tiles broke off at some point during the flight and fell. So there's like a trail of probably undiscovered shuttle tiles all the way from Palmdale to Florida.
I feel like we need to just kind of like go find some.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Skirt like Roswell, just like the army, just like
Yeah.
every little thing.
I'm allergic to shuttle tiles though. So
Really?
yeah.
I kind of want to see that. What happens?
Because they're not gluten free. Like, what's the problem?
Well, shuttle tiles are made of silica, and silica breaks off in really small pieces, like micron-sized pieces. And if you inhale it, it can irritate your respiratory system, and that's what happened. Because
Shouldn't, in theory, that mean everybody is allergic
at the
to?
Space Center back in the day, we had a tile, and I pulled it out for a demonstration, and I wasn't wearing gloves, and my hand started itching like.
This part of the
Absolutely.
conversation out of context is amazing. Yep, continue.
Yeah, and my hands started itching like nobody's business. And then also my throat like started closing up too.
Let me be clear. If you're a human, doesn't that inference that you are allergic to these tiles?
Probably, but I have never seen that. I don't know of anyone else who's had a reaction like that around a shuttle tile.
Was
And
dumb
it-
enough
and
to
it
not
happened-
wear gloves while touching the
Yes.
tiles? And okay.
Yeah.
You should see his feet swell up on the beach.
Jazz Throughout says, haha, Jared is allergic to shuttle. Just so you know, you're allergic to the space shuttle.
Yeah,
so
that's-
you can't say
Silicosis is no fun.
You sound like you're about to revoke his space fan card or something. You are allergic to the space shuttle. You are not qualified.
that. You may not go to space,
So
sir! You are no longer
So
going
mean.
Get out!
So I can't find any images or anything about Houston's shuttle bid.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I can't find anything about the wood either. but I
The
can find
pack
something about
with the
fiberglass.
earbuds.
Grab a pack.
You guys are
can hear
adorable. So you're like, no, it's not. It's totally not. Look it up yourself. And then you looked up and you're like, I can't actually find the information I thought I was looking for.
I'm sure we can. I'll find it.
I'm just giving you crap. It doesn't matter to me.
I have a. I'll go to a different research. I won't use the Google.
Challenger says, Citizen 68698 says Challenger was originally OV099. The dynamic test article was used for stress and strain tests. Then, as
Right,
we
now-
all know, then eventually flew.
Right, and my understanding was Challenger was not designed to actually fly,
But
but then they made it fly.
Challenger's structures were identical to Columbia's, and they were used for stress testing.
Sure.
Enterprise's structures were different from Columbia's, and it was designed to just fly in our atmosphere.
Oh.
No, so I knew the structures were different, but
So- so
I
the-
didn't think it was designed to.
So the cost to refit the structures, to make the different structures so that it could go into space, was more than converting Challengers or STA 099's structures.
That much I knew. That
go
much I
into
knew.
space.
But the intent was to make. I thought the intent was to make Enterprise a spacefaring vehicle.
Initially, the thought was to refit, yes, but then they looked at the cost of refitting, and it was cost prohibitive. It was never designed to go into space to begin with.
That's what 68698 is saying. Right, Ben? It was cheaper to make OV099 space-worthy than Enterprise.
Right. I thought. I agree with all of that. I'm not disagreeing with that. That lines up. What I'm saying is, I thought the original plan was Enterprise was going to space. So, and then they determined, oh wait, no, we can do it cheaper if we use, not Columbia, Challenger. We'll do that instead.
Yes, that's correct, but it was never designed to go into space. It was designed to do.
To be fair, this sounds exactly like an argument you and I had not that long ago, and that I don't remember what it was about. And I was like, we are saying the same things. Oh!
There must have been.
okay.
You're welcome.
The-
Welcome to my world.
If the intent was to send it to space originally.
The decision to
Sorry, I kicked you.
The decision to look into refitting it to go into space was made after it was designed and flown, and they wanted another orbiter in addition to Columbia.
So that's the part. So that is I was always under the assumption that it was always designed to go to space.
No.
And then they realized, wait, hold. We can actually do it cheaper if we just use this other article over here because it has the newer structure. It makes more sense. But originally it was supposed to be Enterprise, but they were still really early in the program and they hadn't actually figured everything out yet. And by the time they figured the frame out, they're like, oh well, wait, no, that Enterprise isn't going to go. We're going to go over here because it's going to be cheaper to do this rather than retrofitting everything over here.
They were still designing all of the structures and everything for Columbia and Challenger when Enterprise was, mostly built. And
here's a fun fact that might be causing the confusion here is you're right, Ben, that they originally intended that, but then looking seriously at refitting it, what didn't actually occur until after the Challenger explosion. It was after Challenger that they looked again at, can we actually still turn this into a space-worthy vehicle? That was only looked at just very briefly before they decided, no, that's not a good idea. So they actually looked at it twice. Of refitting Enterprise. The original plan of refitting it until they got the design finalized for Columbia, and then again after the Challenger disaster.
Sure, and that all makes sense. My argument, I guess, where Dada and I are splitting hairs here is when they actually determined when in the line they wanted to make it a spacefaring vehicle, right? Was that done early on, like the original? It was originally like Enterprise is going to be this test article, and it's going to be our first vehicle in space, or was it? Well, we have this article. Let's see what it would take to make it a spacefaring vehicle. Oh, wait, no, that's not a thing. Yeah. I'm saying it's the first. and Dada's saying it's the second.
Correct.
Yeah,
and I'm saying it's both.
And you're saying it's both. No, well,
it can't.
Just at different times. No, I'm serious. It's both. But
Mike. The distinction is that on the pieces of paper where Enterprise was being designed, Ben is asserting that the intent was to put that vehicle into space.
Right.
And that's not true.
It's true.
No, it's not true.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
so we're not going to determine this now. I happen to know some of the people who can actually for realsies answer this. So apparently we're having a hard time looking it up. Rather than going around in circles, we're going to put a pin in it. We're just going to go ask them. And we're going to be like, what's the deal with Enterprise? Right? When was it determined that you wanted to put it into space? Okay, I can't. Give.
I just did a quick search, and Wikipedia brought that up. So.
Yeah, but this is basically saying the same thing that Dada and I are saying. Our disagreement is, so Dada would agree with everything in this, as would I. Our disagreement isn't that it was planned, that there was a plan to put it into space. We all agree on that. What we disagree with is when it was planned to be put into space.
After Columbia.
No,
according to this
no,
article.
No.
So.
The disagreement is when, on paper, they originally said, "Hey, let's make this a spacefaring vehicle." Not like when in the launch manifesto to launch, but like when in that timeline of events did they say Enterprise is going to be a spacefaring vehicle? My understanding was, and by the way, I could be incorrect, but my understanding has been for quite some time that happened very early in the process, and it wasn't a late breaking thing. Dada's saying no. It was designed as a test article, not as a flight-worthy article, and they were looking at making it a flight article, and then they said, no, we're not going to do that. Right. Did I sum that up correctly, Dada? Is that a...
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. So we just need to figure out when in the design process they wanted it to be a flight-worthy vehicle.
Okay.
And we happen to know people who can answer that question.
Okay. Sounds good.
We will ask said people. It will take a little while to get that answer, but we will get that answer.
Answers are good.
Hey, do we have an answer on the color of Spaceship Earth?
Yes, it is white. Next up.
No, that's actually not true.
That is correct. It is white.
Kind of
Thank
feel like
you.
it's gray, though.
End of conversation.
But it's like gray silver.
Yeah, you can feel like that, but technically, it's white.
But
it's Endeavor eggshell.
No.
Yeah, I don't remember anything on Twitter, so it's definitely white. Also, you can't. Is Enterprise a planet?
that's funny. That did not pop up for me.
No, it never cleared its own orbit.
Oh, because you're in the beta client.
Oh, that way?
Yeah. So, yeah. If you go to the main client. But
I don't think I can.
In the main client, I can't push this to air. So, for those who don't know, there is a new beta version of the chat room that we are working with inside the studio.
Yeah, but see, if I do that, then I get none of that.
Because you have to log in.
Right, and I can't log
Right.
in.
Anyhow, beta version of the client in the studio. The advantage of the beta version of our client is twofold. One, it actually combines the Twitch chat and the regular TMRO chat into one cohesive thing, so we can actually see everything on one page. And two, when we hit we get these dots and extra features on our screen. We've had them for quite a while. When we press the red one, it automatically creates, like Dota has a social banner now from Psyche. It says Beam is innovative.
SEKI. I don't know why you keep freaking out about it.
That was automatically created when I pressed the red button in the chat room. It just made it. It built it. So because of that, actually, I just did realize that spacing is wrong. Anyhow, that's what we want it to be. Like, that's the future, but it's very, very poorly failing in the studio. It's not good at all. So we'll work with Colton and make it. Yeah, Tars, beta sucks majorly right now. Yeah, that's a pretty good explanation of it. But, hopefully as logs figure out what happened there, and that's why it's beta. Yep.
You guys ever watch yourself on the live feed?
Like 10 seconds behind ourselves?
Yeah.
God, no.
I'm doing it, and it's just like
It's
person
the
on
worst.
the screen has no will. Like, I try, don't do what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
But he can't help himself. He's gonna do it. I want to give a shout out.
Yeah,
to my buddy Skylar, who's currently in Colorado, taking care of his grandma.
Aw.
And I just want to say a few things about him. That his favorite movie is Titanic.
What?
And he
No.
hates Batman.
Wow.
Wait, does Skylar also think that Princess Bride is a crappy movie because it's not a good comedy?
Yes.
Wow.
I think the entire. I think
that.
I'm just saying a bunch of stuff because he's watching right now.
Yeah.
He's messaging me.
Well,
Right.
also, I think at this point the entire chat room hates Skylar.
You succeeded in turning everyone against him. Good job.
Oh, he's helping out his grandma in Colorado. That's so nice.
This is slander.
What? He doesn't like Batman? Piece of shit.
He's a great guy. I'm just messing with him.
Great guy who doesn't like Batman.
He's told. He tells everybody
No,
just says a lie.
Okay.
no. You said it on the internet,
said it.
which means now it's true.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Reddit is going to make a post about this.
Oh my God! Yeah.
And say,
Oh, he's gonna love this. He is gonna love this.
I think that was the weirdest argument I've ever heard forever about not liking The Princess Bride.
No, that I just agreed because I knew you.
No, I know. The reason that came up is because I recently had a conversation with somebody who told me they didn't like The Princess Bride. I said, why? And they said, because it's not funny. And I said, but it's not a comedy.
The Princess Bride.
I was like, I don't understand. It's literally not billed as a comedy, so I don't understand how you're judging it. It's also not a horror flick. Terrible for a horror. It's like, it doesn't fit that genre at all. And I was like, right, because it's literally not in that genre. Like, that's not a good way to judge a movie.
What is that?
Because it doesn't make any freaking sense.
it's Twitter in 4K.
I don't know what that is.
It's the conversation you had about what color the Epcot ball is.
It's white.
Is it called the Epcot ball?
No,
Sure,
Or
it's
did
not.
I mess that up?
It's called Spaceship Earth.
Spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
Is it a planet?
You know,
It is
under the
now.
new classification, I think it may be.
Skylar just messaged me. God damn it.
Oh, you know what? I feel like that should be a new thing in After Dark, is that we mess with Skylar every show and just make something up new about Skylar.
Is that like Jimmy Kimmel always trying to have Matt Damon on, and they always run out of time?
Yeah, something similar. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Skylar walk in here and just
Just someday some random dude walks in here. I'm Skylar. None of that's true.
We're out of time. Oh my God, we've created a Batman debate in the chat room. People like Batman's just an overrated.
It's not a crime to hate Batman as long as you love Adam West.
First it was ejection seats, now it's Batman.
I hate Ben Affleck, so I'm torn on the Batman thing myself. Batman is a rich asshole who, instead of fixing his city, runs around with a cape to get his ass whooped while not stopping any actual crime. Gotham is a better Batman story. Batman can't do shit, though.
Nice.
Skyler.
Batman as a character is good, but as a superhero, he's overrated.
Skyler, you're watching this. Defend yourself in the chat room, man.
Defend yourself, Skyler! Defend yourself! Look at the anti-Batman rhetoric you've created, says Skyler. Citizen 68698 asks, "Who is Skyler?" How does one answer who is Skyler? That's such a deep question.
That is a deep question.
That might be too deep for this show.
I mean, Skyler is a very emotional person.
Yeah.
Very in touch with his feelings.
Skyler, my phone's broken.
Does he invoke feelings in you, Ben?
I am all. He says I am all. It's true.
What was the question, Space Mike?
Does he evoke feelings in you, Ben? Is that inspirational?
It's inspirational to me. Skyler's why we built tomorrow.
We look to the Skyler.
This whole show.
Oh, boo. Oh, God. Oh.
Okay, so Skyler is God. He's a god.
It's taking a little
Depends
too far.
on which god, though.
Wow,
I think
this is
he'd
getting
prefer to be
very existential now.
Well, would you say that he's a deity or a deity?
I thought it was deity.
deity.
I'm so confused.
So for those not in the know, this is an argument that Ben and I had a little over a year ago.
Which I captured on video.
Which it's a great video.
Yeah, and the question was, what color is the geodesic sphere?
Nature. Place it on your search bar. Every photo will be great because you can't replicate that color white in nature. Yeah, but I'm not talking about like a 10% gray. I'm talking about like 30 or 40 or 50%. No, it's not even 30 or 40. This is 30 or 40.
I'm not gonna lie, you sound like a woman.
I do!
Honest to God, I don't even know how we got here. But as soon as it started, like, neither one of us can stop. It's redonk. It's absolutely redonk.
If it makes you feel...
If you weren't so wrong, this wouldn't be so difficult.
The solution is simple, and you said...
The solution is simple. We can go down to Epcot, and we can look at it, and then you can tell me how right I
am. It's really bad that you suck so much.
So
all of the time, and continue to do so. By the way.
So I had an opportunity. I found a former Imagineer who was talking about the Epcot ball, and I asked him if he knew. Maybe you'd know, what is the official color designation requested from the manufacturer of the skin triangles of Epcot? Mm-hmm. And he said, "Do you mean the Alucobond panels on Spaceship Earth?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I don't know. I think it was one of the few off-the-shelf colors they already made." I went and looked it up, and they had a number of shades of white and or gray. Mm-hmm. And Epcot Prime said, "I used to know this. Maybe Alucobond can refresh our memories." And Alucobond said... the finish used was anodized clear. So it's aluminum. The color is aluminum. It's not gray. It's not white. It's aluminum.
So nobody was correct.
Aluminium.
No, well, no. I mean, one would classify aluminum as gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, but first off, that was on the internet. I don't know who wrote
I also
that
like
tweet.
how Skylar's like, wait, it's not white?
By the way, what color is this back here?
What color do you think it is?
Anodized clear to 0.5.
Right. What color do you think
Actually,
it is?
hang on. Let's take a vote before anyone answers. Go to camera 2 for me. I snap. Jeez.
You snap like that's going to make that
camera
happen?
2. Well, yeah, no, not that camera. Go
middle
back to the
camera?
wide
There you
camera.
go.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
What color do you think this is?
the set is right here? What color is that?
Oh my God.
What color is all that?
Asking me or the crowd?
Yes,
no,
everyone.
asking you.
Asking you and the chat room. I want the chat room to answer as well. So what color do you think it is?
I should know this because I painted it, but I can't remember what color.
kind of like a.
Well, don't answer quite yet.
Like this is gonna really screw me as an artist because just like the artist doesn't know his colors.
I need the exact hex value.
There's a character in my comic that I put the hex value of fuck you.
So what do you think? What do you think it is?
It's kind of off-white.
Yeah. Star Wars white, light gray, 50 Shades of Grey. Looks.
Skylar says whatever Esteban says is wrong. We've got light gray, dull white, titanium white, light gray,
Atlantis
Star
white.
Wars white, 50 Shades of Grey.
Actually, here. This is.
There are 5
This
lights.
is painted the same color. This is the same color as the background. What color do we think?
It's like one of those optical illusions where it's like the checkerboard and the ball.
Here you go.
And it's like these two.
Right. So if I tip
are
it
the
like this,
same color.
I tip it like this, where you have the light hitting it here, and it's darker down here, so it's under shadow.
Yep.
What color do you think? This is for realsies, right? Dutta will back me up. This is painted the exact same color.
Yeah, we only bought 4 paint colors.
Yeah, and
there are 4 paint colors,
and
one
one
of
of
which
them's-
was purple, so it doesn't even remotely count.
Well, no, I was gonna say one of them is just the difference between gloss and.
Oh, that's true. Sorry, we bought 5 paint colors because there was black glossy, black matte, then there was really dark gray matte, then there was purple, and then there's this color.
It's white.
3 shall be the number of paint colors. 4 shall be the number of paint.
Yeah, I know.
The number of paint colors shall not exceed
Sorry.
5.
Could I have your notebook, please? I'm just gonna steal it from you.
Go ahead.
Either one?
Sitting up is kind of dumb.
No, I just wanted to steal.
Because
So,
he wants to steal the paper. Yeah.
if it helps, there you go. This is how close it is to white. There you go. So it's an extremely light gray. We did this on purpose because if we used white on the set, it would overblow on the camera.
Yeah.
And if we did light gray, it basically looks like white, but it's not white. And we can actually overcrank the camera a little bit and get better definition in the face. So we went with a really light gray to, thank you, to compensate.
If I remember correctly, wasn't this color like Apollo console? Or it had like a spacey name to it or something, didn't it?
It did not. That was the color I wanted to get, but was like a shade too dark.
Oh, yeah,
But I
yeah.
wanted to get it because it had the space name to it. Same thing with the gray at our house, I want to say. Like we
yeah.
had something like that.
That's funny.
You ever guys think of putting hats on the TV?
Hats?
No, because he moves around too freaking much.
We have a hat on the set.
We do.
Yeah, in the back. Dutta's hat.
Oh!
Dutta's building hat.
They asked, the 3D model of the windows was Apollo something, right? That's correct. So
Yeah, that was for sure.
the shape is actually called
Apollo.
and it's based off of a block shape. So the set is inspired by a couple different things, but one of them was Carrie Ann found these blocks that had that shape, like that window shape to them, basically exactly that. And you just take the blocks and you stack them and you build that. And they're these like giant concrete things, so they're heavy and a pain in the butt to work with.
Except they were like a quarter of the size.
Yeah,
and they were smaller.
much
Yeah, that's
smaller.
correct. That's correct. They were smaller. But we're like, wouldn't it be cool if we put like a planet back there and made it look like the windows of a spaceship? And Dad was like, yeah, but they're too small. And so he threw them into CAD and built them, and then he had to figure out how to build them. And so, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he designed it in CAD, and then he came by, and I mean, they look incredible even in person. It's
Yeah, this is
an
the
engineering
original
marvel.
thing
Yeah.
I found.
Nice.
I threw it in the chat
What
room.
color is that?
Beige, it looks like here,
does
but I'm
look
pretty sure
kinda
it's
beigey.
white. Yeah.
Eggshell beige.
You can model just about anything in CAD. The trouble is trying to
They want
figure
the
out how to build
background
it.
planet to rotate.
Yeah. So the
doesn't?
original design did allow and still does allow for enough room for an LED video wall behind the set. And when we have the 200, okay, we're just showing both white and gray in that picture at that point.
Right, it's gray.
Why are you so wrong?
Because I'm not wrong.
It's aluminum.
Aluminium. What was I saying? Oh, it's about
wasn't
$200,000 to get that video wall. And then people say, what about projection? The problem is the lights are too bright, and so the projection will be destroyed by our studio lights. So it has to be something that can thwart the studio lights but still look good.
What about chroma key?
You can leave now.
When's the last time you tried doing live chroma key?
Yeah. You know how it's even if you get an image, like you get a person, let's just say Jared's beautiful hair, and you put him in front of a beautifully lit screen, right? Beautifully lit chroma key screen, and you bring him into Photoshop, you go to key him out. You get 90% of the way there with just a single, you could even magic wand that. But that last 10% of the way is the edging of the skin and all the detail in the hair, and it takes forever just for one frame.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
I have 24 of those per second, technically 23.976 of them per second. And getting live chroma key that doesn't suck is stupid expensive. So we won't. The other nice thing is that you can see we have these lights that are interacting with the set and simulating the star. Right, so this is not Earth behind us. It's you won't recognize any bodies of anything over here. The light shining back through here is approximately, it's not quite perfect, but it's darn close to where the star would be illuminating the planet. And then that's kind of its setting. And it's actually also like the setting sun, or the kind of different interaction of that light is bouncing back off into this. So we're getting this really cool play of light that I would not have gotten with chroma key. Okay. So, I mean, I could simulate it with like paint, but it's not, it's just not the same.
It's pretty dope, man.
Let's ask Reddit. They always have good ideas.
Oh my God, I hate you so much.
They always have the best ideas. The best ideas come from Reddit.
No, what, is he taking the fire extinguisher? The flashing camera?
Did the camera poop out?
You out?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Space Mike.
Interesting conversation about colors and whatnot, but
Goodbye. Goodbye.
We'll see you later.
Bye, Mike.
Goodbye, Mike.
Skylar's still watching. He's a pretty dope man.
Aww.
Skylar's good.
Not watching.
Then screw you, Skylar. Get the hell off of my computer.
So Destructor 1701 asks, is the topography of the planet the same as the old planet? In other words, I know it's a new angle and new lighting setup, but is this planet the same planet model? It is the same planet model. I did move to a new section of the planet, but okay, what are we? We're looking at the gap in the fire extinguisher. Look, we have a fire extinguisher now.
Finally.
There you go. There you go.
Here he comes. Here comes Esteban. There goes Esteban.
And then in that camera. So I did reorient the planet. But yeah.
Quantum disentangled.
Yeah, we've quantumly he's turned into colors. Are we? I think we're finishing it. What is that?
I don't know. I like how they said Matt, but they spelled it like Matthew Robert as opposed to with an E. I can't go back.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Like, why would you
I'm
do
hungry
that?
too.
You're a paint.
I gotta pee.
You're a paint company.
Need help? No? You good?
If you're willing. Get some gloves. You might be allergic.
Oh my god! Oh my god! That was great full circle right there. That was fantastic.
Thanks. It's called a callback.
Oh my god!
Oh man, that's terrible.
Why'd you put an A in my? No, it's not Hig and Botham. God.
Higginbotham.
Higginbotham. HB1. All right. On that note, we out, everyone. Thank you so much for watching.
Rocket Road Trip next week.
Oh yeah.
Rocket Road Trip next week. More details during next week's show. And hopefully Mini Dutta. Mini Dutta's like cooking too long now.
Laziest child ever.
All she's doing is eating and getting bigger.
Yeah. Lame.
Preparing the destruction of things.
I pictured that. All right. See you, kids.
We're out of here.